Call to order, regular town council meeting, December 11th, 2025. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lopez.
Present.
Councilmember Keo.
Present.
Councilmember Freund. For the record, Councilmember Freund has joined the meeting virtually. Can you hear us, Councilmember Freund? There you are. Can you hear us, Councilmember Freund?
Yes.
Perfect. Councilmember Greer? Here. Councilmember Schumacher?
Present.
Vice Mayor Searcher?
Here.
Mayor Plaguda?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, I would like to welcome down Elder Stephen Adams with the Firm Foundation Church for our invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you can.
Good evening, and thank you. Please pray with me. Our God and Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for this beautiful day which you have made. Cause us to rejoice and be glad in it. And thank you for this season of the year in which we recognize and celebrate the incarnation of your only begotten Son. And Lord, I thank you for the privilege of opening these proceedings by appealing for your favor upon them. For as your word tells us that by your common grace, there is no authority except from God, and those authorities that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, we thank you, Lord, for these here and for their service and their willingness to serve. And we do ask your benevolence upon this meeting, that you provide wisdom in this hour, that we who call Prescott Valley home might live quiet and peaceable lives. For it is in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ and for his sake we ask it. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd get a motion to approve the agenda as presented to council.
So moved.
I'll second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilmember Freund, how do you wish
Yes.
to vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Lopez?
Yes.
Councilmember Keo?
Yes.
Councilmember Greer? Mayor Plaguda?
Yes.
That passes unanimously,
Hey,
Mayor.
ma'am, just so you know, it's showing that my tablet's offline. Next up, Student of the Month, Rick Bradshaw, and I'll welcome down Councilwoman Greer and Mike White.
The town of Prescott Valley, in collaboration with the Optimist Club of Yavapai County and Bradshaw Mountain High School, are honoring two of their outstanding students for December, Mackenzie Strader and Jamison Garfield, who unfortunately can't be here tonight. Today, we are recognizing these students for their commitment to school and community engagement. Because of their hard work, they have been nominated by school staff, instructors, and BMHS. Congratulations. Now it's time for each to tell a little bit about themselves. How about Mackenzie first?
Hello, my name is Mackenzie Strader. First off, I'd like to thank Mr. Bradshaw and the staff who chose me to be Student of the Month. My experience at high school has not been the easiest. I transferred from Trinity Christian School to play volleyball at Bradshaw for Coach Platt. Leaving was hard and I lost a lot of my close friends, but in the end, I'm so thankful I did it. Leaving gave me the opportunity to be a part of a very high-level volleyball program, and I made new amazing friends. Coach Carey made me a better player than I ever could have imagined, and pushed me to become not only a better player, but a better team leader and person. Now I'm looking to go play at a college level. Academically, I have always been blessed by the Lord with the ability to think and remember things very well. It has allowed me to maintain a high GPA throughout my days in high school. I also have been blessed with amazing teachers who taught me truth and allowed me to expand my knowledge. I give all the glory for everything I've achieved in my life to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Without him, my life means nothing. Acts 4:12 states, "And there is salvation in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven that has been given among men by which we must be saved." Jesus brings peace and unimaginable joy to those who are lost. He gives me a purpose in my life. Without Jesus' sacrifice on the cross, I would be lost. This is what matters to me the most, and I strive to live every day for him. Giving your life to Jesus is the most important decision you can ever make, and I encourage all of you to do it. In closing, I'd like to say thank you again for giving me this opportunity. I'm truly blessed by my school.
And now Bradshaw Mountain High School's Vice Principal, Jen Tina Russell. And maybe you could speak for our other student.
Hi, I'm Jantina Russell, and very proud assistant principal of Bradshaw Mountain High School. I'm very grateful for Rick Bradshaw not being able to make it here tonight because I get to do this. He gets all the fun. So I'm very proud to be here. And I just wanted to make one note because Kenzie is way too humble. She is an amazing athlete, one of our best volleyball players. It is such a pleasure to watch her on the court and in the classroom. I am speaking about Jamison Garfield. He unfortunately couldn't be here. But again, an exceptional student at Bradshaw Mountain High School. It is always so difficult for us to decide which two students we're going to honor each month because we have so many kids who are deserving of this recognition. I could go on and on about Jamison, but the one thing I just really want to emphasize to this community is that even though he is a student athlete, he has always put student before athlete. And that is something that we are very proud of at Bradshaw Mountain High School, that we have kids who excel on the field, but they know that if they're not excelling in the classroom, then that field time doesn't really matter. But without having to give away too much or violate any laws about educational privacy, I can just say for sure Jamison is a highlight of Bradshaw Mountain High School. It's been wonderful to have him there for 4 years, and we're just so proud to have him at our school. Thank you.
And from the Optimist Club of Yavapai County, Michael Whiting.
Well, as you heard, Jamison is not with us tonight, and we wish him a fast recovery. He had surgery yesterday, and unexpected, I assume, maybe not, I don't know, but we'll miss him. And as you heard, both our students are athletes, but they meet all their criteria necessary to be where they are academically as well, or they wouldn't be playing. So we recognize that they're doing double duty sometimes in what they do, not only academically, but representing Bradshaw Mountain High School as an athlete as well. So Mackenzie and Jamison, wherever you are, Student of the Month is just one of those rewards as a result of your personal commitment and hard work in your journey at Bradshaw Mountain High School. We know this is just the beginning, we are assuming, or at least I am, for further achievements and personal growth through new opportunities, and we look forward to you pursuing your education and career, not just leaving it here in Prescott Valley at Bradshaw Mountain High School. Obviously, you are ready, and you have a bright future ahead of you, both of you do. We would also like to recognize those who supported Mackenzie and Jamison, in addition to their mentors and to their teachers, and that's their parents. And I know we're limited on parent representatives tonight, but we'd like to have any parents please stand up so we could recognize you as well. And so we'll leave it at that. So it's with sincere pleasure that we congratulate as the December Student of the Month on behalf of the Optimist Club of Yavapai County, the town of Prescott Valley, and Bradshaw Mountain High School. And we'd like to give you a little memento of the occasion tonight. And I'll ask Michael to give we'll give Mackenzie hers, and we'll give the vice principal Jameson's. And I would like to just also give them a copy of the Optimist Creed. And I think I talked to a few of the council members this evening, and some people get up and ask what it's all about. But we do have 10 areas that we ask everybody to focus on, and we feel that the students of the month, if they focus on this, they'll not even be great students, but also great human beings and contribute to our community. And rather than read them, and I think we've talked about reading all 10, but I don't think we will. But here's a good one, is to talk health, happiness, and prosperity to every person you meet. So if you can do that with the other 9, you're going to be great. Have a lot of success before you. So let me read what the certificate says. It says, Optimist Club of Yavapai County, in conjunction with Bradshaw Mountain High School in the town of Prescott Valley, certify that Mackenzie Strader and Jameson Garfield have been named Students of the Month for December. Congratulations. We're going to give you another. So we're going to take a few pictures, and then we'll get out of your hair. And we do want to thank the council for their allowing us to do this, and have a happy holiday.
Nicely done. Next up, call to the public. At this time, members of the public may comment on matters listed on the agenda or solely on matters within the jurisdiction of the town. Any persons wishing to address the council must register their name with the town clerk prior to the commencement of the meeting. At the conclusion of call to the public, the council may respond to criticism, ask staff to review a matter commented upon, or ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. Such remarks shall be limited to 3 minutes unless additional time is granted by the mayor. And this is also going to apply to our public hearing tonight, and we're going to have a lot of speakers, folks. So what we're going to do is, as always, it's 3 minutes. You're going to hear at 30 seconds, or at 30 seconds, you will hear a tone, and then the clock will light up yellow, so please pay attention to that. And then once you get to 3 minutes, a couple seconds after that, the microphone will turn off. So just be aware of that. And also, folks, remember tonight, and I'm saying this based off of comments that happened or things that happened at Planning and Zoning, we're not going to have any clapping tonight, no booing, no jeering, no yelling from the audience. We do have a lot of children in the audience, so let's try to be good role models. And please, I can't believe I have to say this, but no obscene gestures to any of the speakers while they're speaking. And then just remember, while you're out there, we have had some comments from audience members where you might be talking to your neighbor and whispering, and it's kind of distracting to them when they're trying to listen. So if you're going to have a conversation, we just ask that you leave the auditorium and then return back. And with that being said, the clerk is going to read 4 names.
Mayor, council, we have 10 people registered for call to the public. The first 4 names are Jean Perryman, David Larner, Patricia Betzold, and Sharon Fried.
And if you haven't done so already and have signed up to speak, please work your way down to the front of the auditorium. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor, council members, town manager, for letting me speak. I'm Gene Perryman. I'm an owner at Victorian Estates. I have sent all of you a letter along with a petition with about 120 names on it of owners from Victorian Estates that don't want the mine in West Thane. I'm here to represent 178 homes. We don't want the harvest.
I didn't cover that part about babies crying, so I apologize.
Where was I? A lot of the people would like to be here, but a lot of the people in Victorian Estates don't drive. They don't drive at night. And those people that do drive, there's some of them you don't want to see drive. So I'm here to represent them. A lot of the people in our association are single women. They're very concerned. They listen to what people are saying. They listen to what's being said, what's being posted. It scares them. You need to listen to their concerns. They're very paranoid. The average age is 75 to 80. So you see what you're dealing with. Excuse me. We'd like to see this all moved out to government tank. A lot of the people that are posting this don't even live in Prescott Valley. They live elsewhere. They'll never see the mining if it's in government tank. Me, I can see the existing one right now off my front porch. If it's in West Payne, I can sit there and watch it go on. People talk about this, that, and whatever. They see a posting and they say, well, now I'm an expert. I worked in a mine. I ran heavy equipment. I set shot, explosives. We would have right up to the owners' backyards. I never blew up their house. I never put rocks through their windows. This is what these people are telling these people of Victorian Estates. You need to listen to them. We need the rock. Prescott Valley needs the rock. Go down Glassford Hill Road, north of Walmart. Look on the east side. That new asphalt streets, new curbs, new driveways. That wasn't delivered by the UPS man. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next name. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the mayor, vice mayor, members of the town council, town manager, and associates. My name is Dave Larner, and I am a resident of Prescott Valley. I'm sure we've talked before, so you wouldn't be surprised. My comments are specific to the government tank quarry. First of all, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for your patience and your professionalism in this difficult matter. Secondly, I'd like to thank the Fanes and APS for their genuine concern for our town. I'm not sure I would have had the fortitude to forge ahead like they have. This issue really isn't that difficult. But once again, the loudest voices and outside influences have infiltrated our town and created division amongst us. We've all seen it all over the country, and now we get to experience right here in Prescott Valley. Please shut out their voices and vote for what is best for all of Prescott Valley. The government tank quarry is the correct path forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Patricia Betzold. Next up is Sharon Fried.
Welcome, ma'am.
Patricia Betzold, Chino Valley. I wanted to talk a little bit about the disappointing planning and zoning meeting that just occurred this week. Not because the decision made, that's yes or no, but at the behavior of two of the commission members, which was out of control. They called people liars in the audience. They raised their voices. They shook papers at us and everything else. And all these things, Mayor Palguda, that you stated about decorum. Sandy Griffiths asked everyone to act professionally in that meeting. And we didn't realize that she was talking about two of the commission members. So that was disappointing. I also wanted to respond to Bruce's accusations. He got this flyer in his door saying it was all lies. And I just want to say that all the material here either came from statements made at the neighborhood meetings or from the Fane neighborhood letters or the September 26th draft of the development agreement that states there'll be 100,000-ton blasting events and crosses out environmental concerns. It included information from the Arizona State Statute 11-830 and 11-812 about the restrictions on towns controlling the growth of mining. It talks about or shows a map that shows the 1,700 acres that the Fanes own that connect the GT tank site with the existing excavation plant owned by APS, and goes up to the backyards of Stone Ridge, Raven Ridge, Prescott Country Club, and the border with Dewey Humboldt, that is exposed to the state statutes that limits our ability to stop mines from growing once aggregate is found on a piece of land. Those are things all available to everyone. The September 26th draft may be tougher because that was found in public records, which takes time. But all this other information should have been known by the commission members, and instead, he just said they were all lies. So we weren't too happy with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Fried? Welcome.
Okay. Good evening. I viewed the December 8th Planning and Zoning meeting online. I was appalled at what I saw and heard regarding the issue's major amendment to the general plan and the zoning map change. Joe Colosimo rudely accused Sandy Graham, PVCA chair, of lying about him in her statement, referencing his behavior at previous meetings. I quote him, "These people," pointing towards Sandy and others, "have blocked those in support of the issues on next door. Don't trust anything they say." Well, I say, don't trust anything Joe says, whose behavior does not inspire trust or respect. Instead of reprimanding Joe, Ivan Legler reminded the people in attendance, "Have some decorum, folks." Joe Hewitt, with his soft-spoken manner, attempted to whitewash the seriousness of the agenda items, major amendment to the general plan and the zoning map change to allow mining at Government Tank. This was obviously an effort to justify his vote against the will of the majority of the people. Bruce Evans, hard to believe that he was appointed as a P&Z commissioner after all of his nasty comments I have seen on Nextdoor. Oh, but of course, it was you, Kel, who appointed him, if I am not mistaken. Bruce whipped out a flyer he found on his front door regarding mining next to neighborhoods and declared the contents to be lies without any proof of such, because that's all he's got, outrage. Facts don't matter to him. And then we have Sandy Griffiths, who condescendingly thanked the people in attendance for their comments and concerns, told them they were heard as if she respected them, and then she proceeded to disrespect them by voting against them, demanding they respect her vote. I want to thank the two commissioners who voted with decency and integrity in support of the will of the majority of the people. That took courage. In addition, I am familiar with PVCA and others who work tirelessly for the best interests of PV and the residents. They operate with the highest level of integrity and honesty. In conclusion, I move to disband P&Z and for the people to appoint commissioners who care about their neighbors and their community.
Thank you, ma'am. Clerk, next group.
The next group is Jason Chisholm, Steve Rossetti, Joe Colosimo, and Gary Johnstone.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jason Chisholm, Town of Dewey Humboldt Council Member. I am here tonight on behalf of the town residents of Town of Dewey Humboldt. They are strongly encouraging us council members, or were, to pass a resolution in opposition of this government tank mine. We did so on September 2nd. We did so at the request, we were notified of this at the request of Prescott Valley Public or Development Services Director via a letter. I attended the Prescott Valley Planning and Zoning meeting Monday night. Afterwards, I was asked, why is Dewey Humboldt putting their nose in Prescott Valley's business? Well, if any of you are aware of ARS 9-461.06, it specifically says in there that 60 days prior to approval of this, you must notify your neighbor town within 300 feet. Well, Prescott Valley neighbors the town of Dewey Humble. So with them neighboring us, they adjoin us with a boundary line that's 300 feet. So the next time I am accosted in the public, there will be a police order written. There will be a citation issued. The council will be notified of it. I am a public official. That does not mean I'm immune to this. However, I want people to get their facts straight. When we serve on that council, we have to be aware of all the Arizona revised statutes. We have to do everything in accordance with Arizona state law. So when you sit there and you call me a liar, or you say that I didn't do something, or why did I do something? Well, the town of Dewey Humble, I didn't do it. The town of Dewey Humble did. I am here on behalf of the town of Dewey Humble. My citizens were concerned about this. I've had conversations with Ron Fain, and all my concern is about this is I strongly encourage you guys not to approve this government tank mine on behalf of our residents. If it is approved, however, I would trust in you, the council, and the staff of the town of Prescott Valley, that you will have our citizens' best interest at heart, and that you will take that to heart, and that any and all consequences that come with mining and blasting be looked at in their fullest. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Vercetti, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Town Council members, and town leadership. My name is Steve Bracetti, resident of Granville, and thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Prescott Valley Chamber of Commerce as we celebrate and continue to celebrate a remarkable holiday season right here in our community. The Prescott Valley continues to shine, quite literally actually, thanks to the dedication of our residents, businesses, volunteers, the Chamber and town team players. This year's holidays lineup has not only brought joy and connection, but has showcased the true spirit that makes our community so special. We kicked off the holiday season with the Valley of Light stroll. This year, we welcomed over 4,000 people, a record year, to walk the mile-long route through Fain Park, allowing them to experience the lights up close. This extraordinary turnout reaffirmed the event's enduring popularity. This past weekend, we participated in the town's Winter Spectacular, hosting the Nightlight Parade, and what a parade it was, with over 56 entries. Next year's goal is to get to 75, and this year's entries were the most vibrant yet. Local businesses, youth groups, nonprofits, families, first responders, the community as a whole truly came together for this event. Thank you, Mayor Palguda, for braving the cold weather with me and announcing, and Vice Mayor Matt Zurcher for being a judge. This year's winners, just to give them a quick shout out, was AAC, also known as Horsey High, the Ryan McNinney family, Bradshaw Mountain High School Marching Band, Prescott Valley Liquidators, Unisource Energy, Mobility Plus, Moyers Heating and Plumbing. So we had a little of the corporate business, local small businesses, families, and schools represented. And the celebration only continues with our Valley of the Lights, which is open now through December 30th, actually. And we have over 22,000 guests visit our Valley of Lights this year so far. So it's truly a huge attraction. On a separate note, I got to attend the 59th NARDA commencement ceremonies today. The town of Prescott Valley is welcoming 2 new police officers to the force, and Chief Bob Tyser gave an outstanding commencement speech, so kudos to everyone involved. Thank you, Mayor, Town Council members, and staff.
Thank you, sir. Welcome, sir.
Merry Christmas, Council. Joe Colosimo, resident of Stone Ridge and citizen of Prescott Valley. I just want to make it clear, this decision is a binary decision. There's no plan C here, and there's not going to be. It is either going to be government tank or it's going to be West Fain Park. This is the article here that I'm sure you all read, the opinion piece from Sandy Graham of the PDCA. And I want to read some of the generalizations that are in here, and they are generalizations. I'm quoting everything. Gravel pit mining operations risks include noise, vibration, dust, and traffic adversely affecting air quality and public health, especially for those with compromised health conditions. Threats to local water, quality, wildlife habitats, potential environmental and regulatory violations, proximity to mining operations have all proved to reduce property values and deter community investments. Industrial activities that undermine neighborhood stability. It kind of goes on with these generalizations. Here's the thing. That man over there, I think he's over there. Oh, he's over there. Pete Thompson runs Asphalt Paving and Supplies, APNS. And since 1983, they have never had to rush one of their employees to the hospital for silicosis or anything like that. They've never had to do that. They've been running a sharp and responsible organization and business there. The guy knows what he's doing when it comes to mining. And for these generalizations to come out and scare people into this is going to happen to you too if you allow this to happen, it's bogus. I won't call people liars, I promise, but it's bogus. It's just not true. And it's an insult to his professionalism. The last thing I want to mention is if this council chooses to approve Government Tank, as they should, because it's the right thing to do. There's been threats online on Nextdoor of referendums and petitions and stuff like that. This petition here does have those generalizations, okay? I've seen it, it was on our door too, okay? It's the same types of generalizations. I'm encouraging the residents of Prescott Valley, when these people come knocking at your door, ask questions, ask for the proof, ask for the... Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Gary Jonestown.
We have two more after this, clerk?
Yes, we have Lucky Barker and Bronwyn McCizak.
How you guys doing? How you doing, Mayor?
Hi, Gary.
I'm just here, Gary Johnstone. I've lived in Prescott Valley for about 20 years. During this time, I bartended for 20 years. And as you know, you meet a lot of interesting people. You get to hear all their stories and, so it's really cool to see how cool people are in Prescott Valley and Prescott. I'm just speaking on for young families. I have 3 boys, been married for 15 years. My wife also bartends over at the new Fat Frog. We all talk to young families and we all agree we need something more for some families to do. I always tell my boys when I was a kid, I went to the mall. I took my kids to the mall. It's like, a ghost town. There's nothing to do. My kids love dirt bikes. We live in Viewpoint. And every time my son starts it up, we have those kind of neighbors that just call. They're, came from California, have nothing better to do. My kids are very, very good kids, so we're looking for something to build and find something for families to do. Something with like 20 acres that will have kids to come out, families to eat lunch, go have a little petting zoo, something with a little park, something that's good for the community, something that we could have leaders that are there for kids. Right now, kids, there's so many bullying that is in this town that you see. We homeschool our kids because of that, so we, are afraid of, all the fentanyl, all the drugs that are going on that you see. Right now what we want is a safe environment for families that could go, feel safe to go drop their kids off and come into a family environment, have dancing, have fun stuff for the family to do. I think this town is craving it. You know, I talk to families all the time, and a lot of them don't even know about these meetings and all that. So I've been talking to people and, you know, telling them to get involved into the city council. I know there's like a group of 25 people that are always involved and trying to get it, but I'm trying to, you know, get involved with young families, something for all of us to do. You know, we could all work together, grow the town. You know, I know a lot of people, when, you know, I signed up, I got that flyer about government tank. You know, all I say is just do your research. A lot of that stuff I didn't believe. You know, I have some insight on it, but, you know, it's crazy that, and I give it credit because right now I'm doing roofing and door to door to them to come. I have a gate. They have to come through the gate. So, you know, just do your research is all I say. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, sir.
Lucky Barker.
Welcome, sir. That's fine. Just pull the microphone a little closer to you. There.
All right, Mayor, thank you for letting me speak. Town Council, thank you guys for taking the opportunity for us to come speak to you guys. Based on what Gary Johnson has said, I'm also here to promote more things for our families in our town. My family has rooted for 50 years in this town. Robert Road was just dirt. And we're right, there's nothing for our kids to do here. Yes, we have a mall. Yes, we have a game center, but that's about it. We do have a bullying problem. My kids are going to be going to online school called On Track for motocross because they're motocross racers and they're high-class motocross racers. I am here to promote something to the community to build a motocross track event center for the town. I have funding. I have 900 signatures just in Prescott Valley, besides the Quad City area, and over 1,000 people from Anthem, Carefree, and Cave Creek that would come up here and support this motocross track. This motocross track would not only be for motocross racers, but to promote kids that aren't into baseball or soccer or anything like that, that might be into BMX, to come over from BMX and into motocross. We have a lot of trainers that live here. We have a lot of professional A-class riders that live in our state and in our town. I have multiple firefighters, police officers who have Pro A cards that race AMA, American Motorcycle Association, that are in support of this. I have 17 companies, which I can provide all this information to you at a better time, that are in support of this. One being GoAZ, that just did a $7 million addition to their building to promote more business. This track would employ over 20 people. This track would have food source, tracks, training, learn how to ride and be safe. But most importantly, my biggest thing about starting a motocross track here in this town is to keep people off of the trails and out of private ranching land that they should not be on. This is a huge problem for off-roading. I'm a desert racer. My kids are racers. All my friends are racers. I'm guilty of it when I was young, getting on land that I shouldn't be. Just like Gary said, his kids go onto a field out there on Antelope Meadows and they get yelled at, rightfully so. They shouldn't be on it. I agree. However, they have nowhere to go. So we don't want people crossing rivers and creeks and onto ranches and onto lands they shouldn't be on and eroding the dirt. Let's try to provide something great for our kids and families. And yes, we have had tracks here before and there's a noise complaint. I have decibel level testings from V8 motors to dirt bikes that show you the difference. I have water mitigation levels to show you the difference. And if anybody wants to talk water about a motocross track, how much water does it take to on the golf course? Millions per year, millions. How many golf courses do we have in town? Millions. So I have the information to give to you guys when you want it. And I'm hoping that the town, the community can support the motocross track for training for kids and adults and all of our officers and first responders that want to ride there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I believe you gave your contact information to the clerk. Do they have your contact information?
We have his email address.
We have his email address. Excellent. Thank you, sir. Clerk?
The last speaker, Bronwyn McCisack.
Welcome, ma'am.
Close, ma'am. Bronwyn McIsaac, Stone Ridge, Prescott Valley. I read a well-written, insightful article on the Prescott Pulse Substack entitled "Developers Aren't the Problem, the People Who Demonize Them Are." To quote in part for the purpose of this meeting, I'll substitute Prescott Valley, where Prescott is mentioned when quoting the Substack. The deepest divide in Prescott Valley right now isn't political. It's about that dirty word growth. One side gets labeled greedy developers and the other side gets labeled no growth radicals. Most of the major developers in the Prescott Valley area have lived here for decades. They raise their kids in our schools, coach Little League, and go to church here. They are some of our largest employers who sit on the boards of local nonprofits and write the checks that keep them alive. The Fain Family Foundation provides grants and gifts for many of the progressive works in this town, including the land that this building sits on. The fact that this family responsibly has gifted many parcels of land, as well as building and enhancement of the community you claim you want to protect. No one's asking for unchecked sprawl, but the cartoon villain version of the developer you've been sold is a lie. The no-growth vision has already been tried in other places. For example, in 2020 and 2024, California lost a net of over 700,000 residents to domestic outmigration, the largest sustained exodus of any state in U.S. history. The reason? Housing costs and regulations make it impossible to build or run a company there. In the 1970s, Boulder, Colorado proudly capped home business growth to surround itself with a green belt to stay small and charming. Today, it has the highest housing costs relative to income and aging population, and local employers who can't hire teachers, firefighters, or nurses because they can't afford to live in Boulder. If you support no-growth policies, the future you're creating for PV is a town where only the already rich and the wealthy retired can afford the taxes and insurance to live here. We need to stop pretending the only two options are unlimited sprawl or Fortress PV with a locked gate. Both options have been tested and the results are either overcrowding or a town chock full of for sale signs, empty offices, and going out of business banners. No growth is suicide by slow suffocation. The developers you've been told to hate, demonize, and in some cases dehumanize aren't outsiders parachuting in to ruin our town. There are neighbors and business owners who have already proven they care about this town, perhaps more than most. Our town can grow without losing its soul, but only if we work with the very people who have the capital, expertise, and yes, their love for this town to make it happen responsibly. Let's not become the town that falls prey to the naysayers whose only intent is to impose unnecessary and unfounded fear, panic, and consternation on our neighbors.
Hey, ma'am. Clerk, is that all 10?
That's it, no one else, Mayor.
All right, we're going to be moving on to council communications. I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
I did sign up.
Come on down.
Timely manner.
Nope, absolutely. Come on down, sir. Welcome, state your name and where you live.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is David Parker, owner of Goliath Commercial Real Estate in Prescott, Arizona. I've worked with the Fains since the early 90s. I knew Bill Fain before I knew Ron and his brother. And I asked Bill one time, I said, Bill, why don't you have this as Fain City instead of Prescott Valley? I said, why don't you develop it yourselves? He says, David, we're land and cattle people. We don't know anything about development, but we're working on hiring the proper people to make a go of this. So what have the Fains actually done to help the town of Prescott Valley? Well, let's take a little bit of things that I know. I'm not going to tell all of it because I'd be here for an hour. But the hospital, for example, that you folks enjoy, where do you think the land came from that hospital sits on? Did the hospital buy it? No. What happened? Well, the Fain family gave it. Well, now there's talk about having a YMCA in town. Oh, I know somebody that has some land. Fains have some land. Maybe they donate it to us. Well, that's what they're looking to do. When you look about the reason I mention those things is you look at the mining, that there's this fear-mongering faction that goes on, and they're telling you how bad it's going to be. Why would the Fains, if they're trying to develop a neighborhood like this in a city like this, why would they do something detrimental to the city? Doesn't make sense, doesn't make economical sense. So if they've done their homework If Asphalt Paving and Supply has done their homework, they're not out to destroy, they're out to help. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now moving on to item 6, council communications. And for all you parents out there with kids, if you guys want to leave and get up, you're not offending anyone from the dais. I just want to let you guys know that. I know I haven't seen many of you out here before, so you might not know how it works. So again, thanks for joining us. Council communications, Councilman Freund, anything?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to wish everyone happy holidays. Unfortunately, I'm not able to attend tonight in person. I'll be at the hospital visiting a dying aunt tomorrow in out of town in Florida. But anyway, I'm here and I'm listening, and I love you all. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman?
I too just want to wish everybody happy holidays and Merry Christmas.
Vice Mayor?
I'll echo that. Definitely. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. I do want to do a shout out to town staff and to the chamber staff for just the town staff. They're unsung heroes when it comes to putting on the Winter Spectacular. You did a phenomenal job, and you are to be, extremely and highly complimented for all the work you did on that. And for the Chamber of Commerce, again, with the light parade, they do the light parade, and it's just gotten better every year. So thank you.
Councilwoman?
No, I was just going to echo the same thing. Our staff did a fabulous job.
Councilwoman?
I too want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas. And I also want to remind everybody this Saturday, we will be doing Shop with a Cop. So we will be meeting at Bradshaw Mountain High School. And at 7 o'clock, I believe, in the morning, we will be leaving. So you will see helicopters, you will see a ton of police vehicles, lights and sirens, and children hopefully screaming Merry Christmas all the way down. We're going to be taking Glassford Hill Road to 89A and to Willow Creek and then to Gail Gardner. So if you know anybody that's on those areas and they're wondering what all the lights and sirens are for, it is Shop with a Cop, which is a great way to start the Christmas season.
Thank you, ma'am. No managers report. Next up, consent agenda. All matters listed under consent agenda are considered routine by the town council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Council, we've had a chance to review our packet. If there's an item to be removed, please do so now. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I would like to remove item 8G, as I see a whole lot of BMX fans here in the audience, and they would probably enjoy being acknowledged.
So I'll take a motion for everything but item 8G.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion as written and approved, except for item 8G to be removed. All items listed under the consent agenda by electronic vote.
A second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilmember Freund?
Approve.
Councilmember Keel?
Approved.
Okay, that passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 8G, Councilwoman, comments, questions, all yours.
I just want to welcome all the BMX families here today. I did have a question regarding the monthly payment. On the staff report, it says that the rent's going to be $2,400 per month, but within the actual contract, it says $2,400 per year. So I'm thinking it's the lower of the amount? Okay. I thought somebody was going to be getting a little excited.
That's correct.
Okay. I didn't see anything, it's my understanding, somebody said that you guys do campouts and they're sometimes during the tournaments. I didn't see any of that in the contract. And then I was also concerned about with the food sales. Is there alcohol sales as well or alcohol on site?
Sir, just state your name.
My name is Mike Miranda.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, from Prescott Valley, proud resident. and one of the two track operators there at the BMX track, along with Gary Sharp. To answer your questions about camping, we do offer camping at one event during the year. That is our state qualifier, which brings in our largest amount of revenue that we pay our rent with. As far as vendor food sales, we do have right now, we currently just run free potluck for everybody. At a few times during the year, we'll have food vendors there. None of them are alcohol vendors. Yes, ma'am. Any other questions?
Mike, I just want to say what you and Gary do out there, it affects so many kids, not only here in town, but throughout the state. I've been fortunate enough to be out there and check out all the people that came to our town and visited. Again, I mean, you guys rock it out there. So you guys should be congratulated and appreciated for the work you do.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We appreciate having the opportunity to give back to our community and to all the surrounding communities and bringing in people even from out of state to come visit our BMX track and providing something for the families of our town, because it truly is a family sport. We have kids racing from 3 years old up to maybe 62 years old. So we're very, very proud of what we've built there, and we're very happy that so far we've had the support of the town and everyone involved. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Hey, Ryder, I see you out there. You think this is a good idea or not? Good. Okay. All right. I'm ready for a motion.
I just had one other question.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
gentleman that was talking about motocross, is that something, is he going to get an RFP to bid on that at the Wheelhouse location to try and incorporate that as well? I'm just curious.
Mayor, Council.
Hang on a second. Legal, are we able to discuss something that was brought up at Call to the Public?
Not the call to the public, but if you want to just ask the question in general in terms of approving this contract, I think that's fine.
Just make it general. Has that ever been discussed? To be combined perhaps with the BMX?
It has been discussed, yes.
Are we good? I'll entertain a motion to approve item 8G.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve a license agreement with Wheelhouse BMX AZ Inc., DBA Mingus Mountain BMX, for a parcel of land at the fairgrounds in the amount of $28,000 per year.
Oh, hang on a second. Not $28,000 a year. It's $400 a year. Just simmer down.
Sorry. Just reading the motions. My apologies again.
And I second.
Or can I have a motion? Or can I have a vote?
Councilmember Freund.
Yes.
Councilmember Keo.
Yes.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you. How's that, guys? Good? Yay. Next up, old business, ordinance 2025-973, amending Town Code Section 7-01-150, application for permit to allow for third-party review of permit applications in accordance with SB 1353. Who will be presenting on this?
Would you like me to do the second reading?
I just
You
see
wanna
if
hear
there's
it?
council has any comments or questions. This is a second reading. Do we have any comments or questions for Ms. Bristow? Seeing none, clerk?
Thank you.
Ordinance number 2025-973, an ordinance of the mayor and common council of the town of Prescott Valley, a municipal corporation of Arizona, amending Town Code Section 7-1-150, application for permit in Article 7-1, the Town of Prescott Valley Administrative Code, in Chapter 7, Building, to authorize third-party review of certain applications for building permits in accordance with ARS 9-470.1, providing that all other chapters, articles, and sections of the Town Code not herein repealed or amended shall remain in full force and effect, providing that if any provision in this ordinance is held invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction, the remaining provision shall not be affected, but shall continue in full force and effect, and providing that this ordinance shall be effective 30 days after its passage and approval according to law.
Thank you, ma'am. Shall this ordinance pass?
Councilmember Freund.
Yes.
Councilmember Keo.
Yes.
Mayor, that passes unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, 9B, ordinance number 2025-971, repealing Town Code, Article 8-06, dissolving the Municipal Property Corporation Board. Mr. Legler, this is our second read. Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Legler? Seeing none, clerk?
Ordinance number 2025-971. An ordinance of the mayor and common council of the town of Prescott Valley, a municipal corporation of Arizona, repealing Town Code Article 8-6, Municipal Property Corporation Board, and Chapter 8, Business in its entirety, and reserving for future use, providing that all other chapters, articles, and sections of the town code not herein repealed or amended shall remain in full force and effect, providing that if any provision in this ordinance is held invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction, the remaining provisions shall not be effective, shall continue in full force and effect, and providing that this ordinance shall be effective 30 days after its passage and approval according to law.
Thank you, ma'am. Shall this ordinance pass?
Councilmember Keel?
Yes.
Councilmember Freund?
Yes.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, item 9C, ordinance number 2025-972, repealing Town Code Article 8-02, business license, and reenacting business registration, establishing peddler operation hours. And we have any questions or comments for the clerk? This is also a second read. Seeing none, hearing none, clerk?
Ordinance number 2025-972. An ordinance of the mayor and common council of the town of Prescott Valley, a municipal corporation of Arizona, amending Town Code Article 8-1, Peddlers, and Chapter 8, Business, to clarify the definition of peddler and establish the hours during which peddlers are prohibited from operating within the town. Repealing Town Code Article 8-2, Business License, and reenacting Article 8-2, Business Registration, and Chapter 8, Business, providing that all other chapters, articles, and sections of the town code not herein repealed or amended shall remain in full force and effect, providing that if any provision in this ordinance is held invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction, the remaining provision shall not be effective, shall continue in full force and effect, and providing that this ordinance shall be effective 30 days after its passage and approval according to law.
Thank you, ma'am. Shall this ordinance pass?
Councilmember Keel?
Yes.
Councilmember Freund?
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez?
Yes.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, new business 10A, recommendation of Series 10 beer and wine store liquor license for Global Money Services LLC located at 3681 North Robert Road, Suite A, to the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control. This is a public hearing, which I am opening now. Welcome, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Our office received a new application for a Series 10 liquor license submitted by Global Money Services located at 3681 North Robert Road, Suite A. In accordance with Arizona law, the notice of the application was posted for the required 20 days. No written comments were received during this time. So it is recommended that at this time, Town Council forward a recommendation of approval for this application.
Thank you, ma'am. As I mentioned, this is a public hearing. Is anyone that wishes to speak on this item out there? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Council, is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the Series 10 liquor license on behalf of Global Money Services LLC located at 3681 North Robert Road, Suite A, to the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control by electronic vote.
A second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilmember Freund?
Approve.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, 10B, construction contract for the rainwater harvesting project, CIP number CW2511, in the amount of $735,790 with Earth Resource Corporation. Sir, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. I'm going to go through a brief presentation, and this presentation actually will cover both of the next, this item and the next item as well, because they're related to the rainwater harvesting project. The first one is a construction contract, and the second one is an amendment to the consulting engineers agreement. I'm not going to go through this. I'm going to just very quick. But essentially, the project that we're talking about is the rainwater harvesting that you guys have heard about a lot. There's a picture of kind of what it looks like. We're going to take rainwater off of the roofs of buildings, and we're going to get it into the ground so that it soaks in and gets into our aquifer. We're going to do this at 3 locations. But the town received a WIFA grant in the amount of $714,000 and change. We have to do a 25% match of that for a $892,000 project. Like I said, we're going to do that at 3 locations and capture the rooftop runoff. Those locations are shown here. 2 of them are going to be at this site, one of them adjacent to the police station and the other one right outside this building. And so during construction, there will be a mess there. They'll get it all put back on the location near the police station that will be replanted with turf. And so you won't see it after it's been constructed, but we're looking at about a 90-day construction period. And I think I get into that in the next slide. The other location is up at what's called the Project Reimagine now, the former Wheelhouse site. And so we'll have a larger facility going in up there as well. So for the construction project, we received only 1 bid on this project. It was from Earth Resources Corporation in the amount of $735,000. 790. As I said, it's a 90-day construction period, and we're hoping that we'll be able to squeeze that right in between the ending of the events here with the Christmas and the Winterfest and all that, and prior to the Easter and that time frame when we start to have more events on site. So we're going to get it in as quick as we can. And then the second item that you'll be addressing shortly after this one is an amendment to the Civil Tech contract. They are the ones that designed these projects as part of their professional services agreement, though we did not have certain items in there such as bid services and construction administration services. In addition, we had to move some money around in the design contract, and that would be to authorize those as well. Overall, we are not increasing their contract at all, but we are removing some items out of there. We had originally partnered with the Yavapai Indian Tribe. They didn't go forward with theirs, so we had the design money in there for theirs. We're just shifting that into the construction management services and the other things that I mentioned. And that's it. Well, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Council, we have questions for staff? This is an awesome project. We've been talking about it for so long, and it's going to be great.
Yep. Thanks.
Folks, if we have no other questions or comments.
I have a short question.
Yes, sir.
For Neil. First of all, I want to say, kudos on this. I do have one question about the locations. Is there any assurance that this won't wind up being over some kind of hard surface that won't allow the water to go through it very well to reach the aquifer, and it may overflow, for example?
Are you talking about underground hard surfaces? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Hard surface?
Yeah. Yes. Underneath the places where the water will be deposited.
Oh, well, there was some exploratory geotechnical work that was done prior to, and so, I mean, we don't know, what's down below that, but these areas in general should work fine, and so there's never 100%, but from what we've looked at, they should work.
Thank you, sir.
I'll entertain a motion to approve 10B at this time.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to award a bid to and enter into a contract with the apparent low bidder, Earth Resources Corporation, for the rainwater harvesting project, CAP number CW2511, in the amount of $735,790.
I'll second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilmember Freund.
Approve.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. And Mr. Wadsworth covered 10C in his presentation. Do we have any questions or comments for him in reference to this? Seeing none, hearing none, I'll take a motion for item 10C, please.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve Amendment Number 1 to the Professional Services Agreement with Civil Tech Engineering, Inc., dated November 14th, 2024, reallocating design costs and adding bidding and construction support services for the rainwater harvesting project, CIP CW2511.
Second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilmember Freund.
Approve.
Councilmember Keo. Thank you. That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, item 10D, license agreement with Antelope Village LLC for stormwater recharge and field trials testing of Iris technology at Pronghorn Ranch, Unit 21. Ms. Lund, welcome.
Thank you very much, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Let's see, I'll wait for things to boot up here. This is a different project from what Neil talked about. This is the other stormwater project that we've got going on. And, oh, there we go. That looks familiar. Although I think, oh, that would be the first page. Okay. So essentially, just to give you a quick refresher on this, as developments go in throughout Prescott Valley, obviously that changes the infiltration capacity at water we can get into the aquifer. Obviously, we are also blessed with the clay-rich soils, which also slows that down just as a default. That can lead to increased flooding and erosion downstream. So what we need to do is just kind of explore different technologies to actually address these issues. So this project is the second presentation on this particular project that we have brought to you so far. And I'm going to keep this even briefer than, this will be like the shortest talk I will ever give on this. So essentially what we'll be doing is constructing 2 basins in the Pronghorn Ranch subdivision, Unit 21. And this, what you see before you this evening is the agreement for access for that site for 2 years. So what we'll be doing is installing 2 basins on each end of Pronghorn 21 and comparing the performance of infiltration in those 2 basins. And there'll be no cost for this particular agreement. It's just simply access to the site as provided by Pronghorn. And that covers what I have for you this evening. But I'm happy to entertain any questions you have.
Ms. Lund, one question I do have. Can you remind us what other communities are utilizing this technology or attempting this?
So there is one additional pilot test that is currently in operation right now down in Red Rock. And it's still in progress. There's any data coming from that yet. What we will benefit from on this particular project is lessons learned from down there. So we're going to be doing some additional monitoring that they were not able to accomplish down there just because of budget considerations and the such. So we're excited. We're going to be throwing all kinds of science at this and getting down to the nitty gritty. We're getting a lot of, there were a lot of inquiries on this from cities down in the valley, statewide, because this is an exciting opportunity that could benefit just about everyone in Arizona.
Awesome, ma'am. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I was just going to add, because this is a really positive thing, I think, for our community. So we did receive a grant and a loan from the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority. We also have a financial contribution from the Salt River Project, who is very interested in what we're doing in terms of stormwater management. And we've been working very closely with the Salt River Project on this, and we'll continue to do that. And I believe Arizona State University is going to be partnering with this as well to do all of the very highly sensitive monitoring below grade.
Well, yes, they'll be monitoring the evaporation coming from the ponds. Physics, I won't go into it, unless you really want me to.
Oh, please don't.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments for Ms. Lutton? Seeing none, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve a license agreement with Antelope Village LLC for stormwater recharge and field trials testing of Iris technology in parcels of Pronghorn Ranch Unit 21 by electronic vote.
Second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilmember Freund.
Approve.
Thank you. That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, item 10E, resolution number 2025-2440, adopting a development agreement with Fain Family and APNS regarding the proposed government tank rock harvest site. Mr. Davidson, Mr. Legler.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I just wanted to remind you that last week you held a study session to consider a development agreement with the Fain family interests related to the government tank rock harvest site. And in that process, we explained that you'll have 3 agenda items tonight, and we'll start with this development agreement, and then you'll be dealing with the general plan proposal 25-001. If you choose, first of all, you'll hold a public hearing, and if you choose to adopt that, you'll do so by resolution. And then following that, you'll have your zoning map change that has been proposed. You'll hold a hearing on that. And then you'll have an ordinance that you may decide whether you're going to read twice. And if you decide to do so, then you'll read that for the first time tonight and then for the second time, final time in January. Last week, when we had this discussion, I explained that the development agreement is not the main thing that you're doing tonight as a legislative body. As a legislative body, you're holding your hearings and you're dealing with the proposed general plan amendment and with the zoning map change proposal. But it was necessary to also have something that could deal with what would happen if you either voted for it or voted against it. And that was the purpose for discussing a development agreement with the applicants of those matters. The development agreement helps us know what we'll do if those are approved. And we then have the ability to obtain the West Fain Park site, have it come inside the town, and there never again have a concern about it being mined. On the other hand, if they are denied and we end up having a mining operation there in the West Fain Park area, then we would know the conditions that would apply and the things that the town could do in cooperation with the applicants. And so that was the importance of having a development agreement for you to consider first. We'll go ahead and invite the applicant's attorney to come up and ask for any questions you may have for him.
Thank you, sir. Welcome. Anything to add before we start?
Thank you, Mayor and council members. For the record, Bill Lally with Tiffany Bosco tonight representing the applicant on all 3 of these items. We do have a presentation tonight. It does cover sort of all 3, the development agreement, the general plan and the zoning, but at your pleasure, I can talk to just the development agreement and questions right now and go into the presentation later. It's really up to you.
We can just go with your presentation, sir, and we can break it up and go back if we have to, or just
Perfect. Yeah.
see what you got.
Mr. Mayor and members, we were here last week talking about the development agreement, and in that development agreement discussion, we gave a little bit of history, and I talked you through sort of the history of the few years of what's happened and what got us here today. And again, as Ivan indicated, you have 3 items tonight: the development agreement, a general plan, a major general plan amendment, and a zoning case. And they're all 3 sort of linked because I think one kind of holds the others accountable, as Ivan has indicated. And so a lot of work. I want to applaud staff for working very, very hard to get a lot of things put into all 3 of these items that give some predictability, I think, in terms of the future. And I think it was kind of hard going back and forth on some of these, but I think, Ivan did a good job. So I appreciate his honesty and hard work. So again, it won't belabor this, but if you recall, years ago, Fain Park there in the green was deeded to the city as a gift for Fain Park. It had sensitive items on there that made sense to protect for a long time. That was in 1996. At the same time, what we would call the existing evacuation site pit, 300 plus acres, was always operated as a mining pit. Both of these properties at the time were in Yavapai County. The gift to the town brought Fain Park into the town jurisdiction. The red circle there shows sort of what we're calling tonight and through this whole process West Fain Park, and it's about 80 to 90 acres, depending on what parcels you're looking at. But that was really anticipated to be kind of a future phase 2 of rock harvesting harvesting the rock. And I think you've probably all driven by, you see the mountains or the little hills poking up out of the property. Everyone knows that the rock is there. It looked exactly like the 300 acres did, years and years ago. And so that was always anticipated to be sort of the next phase of this operation. AP&S has been operating that for the last 20 years. As you can see, that mine is tucked up right up against Stone Ridge Boulevard. So when in 2022, the Fain Group and AP&S applied for a right-of-way permit that would cross from one parcel to the other. So basically cross from West Fain Park site through the park on the very south end of it and get to the existing site for processing after the rock had been harvested. At that time, that permit was denied, and the town asked our landowner and our group to go try to find an alternative site. They would prefer that the impact on the park and impact on the surrounding neighbors be limited, so if they could find a new site. 2023, we did that, filed for general plan applications on what is commonly referred today as the government tank site, which is a 40-acre parcel that, as you can see, circled on the parcel, about 4.5 miles away from the existing site. And it made sense to stay within the parameters of this existing area because the rock has to come back to the main pit for processing. No matter where we pull it, whether it's Fain Park or government take, it's got to come back to that site for final processing to go out to the public. So once we filed those applications in 2023, there was a number of actions, and I know the staff report goes into great detail, and I even told the story, which is basically halted those applications, required us to kind of start over as a major general plan amendment, which we've done. So we filed that case earlier this year at the behest of the town. And during those conversations, the town says, if you're going to, and if we're going to go do the government tank site again, what guarantees do we have that you won't then just go right back to West Fain Park? And so we entered into a dialogue and a development agreement terminology whereby the land would not just be promised that we wouldn't develop it, but that it would be gifted over to the town. And then the town could preserve it and potentially expand the park with an additional 80 acres. So that's what we're here tonight with. It was just a major general plan amendment, a rezoning case, and then the development agreement that really holds our feet to the fire in terms of what can happen on both properties. Again, one of the things that we looked at when we were looking for an additional site is impact on surrounding property owners. So if you look at sort of where the existing West Fain Lake or West Fain Park properties is situated adjacent to future expansion of Stone Ridge and existing homes. At the closest, you're about anywhere from 600 feet to 1,200 feet from existing and future homes if we were to expand onto West Fain Park site. The government tank in comparison site is really, if you're talking about parcels within Prescott Valley, we're talking about 6,000 feet away to the nearest parcel in Prescott Valley. There has been comments about adjacent properties to the south within Dewey. We were showing you there in terms of the location. It's about 2,000 feet to the property line. But in reality, if you look at the kind of aerials today, we're really talking about 2,400 feet away to the first structure. The 2,300 feet goes actually to a couple trailers, we believe, but it's really about 2,400. And if you think back to the existing slide that I had before, in Stone Ridge, it would be 600 or 1,200 feet closest to homes. This location, 6,000 feet away from homes in Prescott Valley, but about 2,400 feet away from homes, the nearest home in Dewey. So from a context of which is closer to homes and which has the most impact, I think it's pretty obvious which property makes the most sense. We went through a very robust outreach. We had 3 neighborhood meetings. 2 were required by the major general plan amendment process. We added another virtual meeting. All 3 meetings were very well attended. We had one at the very north end of the city or town. We had one near the site, and then we had a virtual one. Very well attended, and I would say that a lot of the issues, questions, comments, concerns that we heard during those meetings really fell into a couple categories of impacts: dust, water, noise, operational type of concerns. And so as we sat down and looked at the development agreement, we listed all of these issues that we've heard from the community. We tried to do our best to try to mitigate or answer all of the issues. As we went through the process, there was a question about blasting. So blasting occurs at all of these facilities. It's the last resort. They don't want to do it. It's expensive. It's time consuming. They have to hire other operators to come to the site to do it. So it is the very last resort. They would rather use the existing machinery to do it. So we had to preserve the ability for the operators on government tank to continue to have an option to do blasting. And so the development agreement does limit a campaign or events throughout the year of blasting. And I think there was a concern, which is, well, is this possibly something that would happen every weekend? Could we limit that? And so we had to go round and round and speculate a little bit about the type of blasting, because in reality, at government tank, we don't know where the rock is in terms of its depth, and we don't know what exactly the rock is doing under the ground until we move all of the dirt off and we start looking at it and we understand sort of how we're going to harvest it. So it's impossible today to say that we're never going to blast. It's impossible today to say it's only going to be once a year. And so we came to, I think, a conclusion and a compromise with your staff that makes a lot of sense for blasting campaigns a year. Noise was also a big issue, not only just sort of the noise around the operation, but sort of those backup trucks. And in reality, this operation has existed for the last 30 years adjacent to Stone Ridge neighborhood. The only real calls that we've had are for the backup trucks, the beeping. And we all know those are pretty annoying. We've done cases where we have large shopping centers and there's backup trucks that are, in the back of the trucks or the back of the shopping centers and adjacent neighbors. So it can be annoying, but the backup alarms are there for a reason. It's for safety. It's so nobody's walking behind and accidentally gets injured. And so, but we've tried to compromise here and come up with the requirement that we'll try to do a white noise mitigation type of retrofit on the trucks if, in fact, that retrofit doesn't violate any OSHA or safety conditions. And so there's a possibility that that can happen. We haven't done that, but we will deploy that, and that's a requirement of the development agreement. Hours of operation, again, I think what we wanted to, what the neighbors and community wanted to hear is this isn't going to be like what we see up at CMAX. It's running all night long with bright lights. So we have hours of operations limited to 7 to 7, Monday through Saturday only. And then we have a list of enhanced regulations in terms of notice to adjacent property owners within 1,000 feet when there's a donation, a detonation, or a blasting event. Dark sky standards. We're going to adhere to dark sky standards. We're going to adhere to your town lighting code. And then we're going to place some signage in the area for folks who feel like there's something going on that they want to complain about. If there's dust, they see dust and they hear something. And we want the community to have an opportunity and a sign and a number to be able to quickly find and call. And that makes the most sense that that's the town code enforcement department, because they have the authority to kind of look at the legal requirements and come out and do an inspection. Lastly, as we got into it, we heard a lot of concerns about wells to the south of us, wells in the area, water impact. And so we did have a requirement in this application that we would not be drilling any new wells. We would bring water from the existing site on the east side of the park in trucks, truck it out, and use it on the site to water the equipment, water the grounds, water the operation, and then use that to water the haul truck or the haul road as well. So again, concern about utilizing water out there, we're going to import all water. The access road also came up in terms of sort of really, is that going to be a burden on the town? Is the town going to have to build this road today? So today, the operator uses your roads. Goes right out on Stone Ridge, goes right out on 69, Glassford Hill, uses those roads today. Going forward, we will minimize the impact to the community by utilizing a private road on Fane property designed to carry these trucks safely, designed to have emergency vehicles approach and access them safely. And then as it comes up and crosses Old Black Canyon, we will reinforce that, probably with a concrete pad, and make sure that the approaches and the ingress and egress is safe. We'll work with your engineering department and your city, your town folks to do that. And so we're really going to minimize the impact on the community in terms of use of roads. A couple other things in the development agreement as we're talking about tonight is really there was a a request by one member of the community to not only, restrict sort of what else is happening in the area, but prevent us, and we would agree to not expand the use around the 40 acres for 15 years. Pretty unique. I've never seen that. The scope of our approval tonight is the 40 acres in front of you. I've never had a client in my life say, and will additionally not do anything on the property around us related to the mining, not expand this operation for 40 years. Now, or for 15 years. Now, of course, the process to do that is to come back through here. So there's always checks and balances for expanding the use outside the 40 acres. But in fact, what we've done to kind of give some of the surrounding neighbors who had concerns some predictability. For the next 15 years, it's this 40 acres and this 40 acres only. So that was a kind of an important extra regulation that, that we worked with language that I thought was pretty interesting, but I think our clients and our team decided to go and agree to it. The last thing, and I think Ivan, or up here, what Ivan referenced, which was really just kind of the forbearance and then kind of holdover regulations. We've agreed, even though the family and the operator have the rights today to go to West Fane Park and start tomorrow. They could have started 4 years ago, even when the right-of-way access permit was denied by the town. They could go right out on Stone Ridge and up to 69 and down Glassford Hill. That's how they would be able to access through public roads with all those trucks. So they could do that today. But the agreement that we put in place, which is that this process may be prolonged. I think we all think that the community may get involved somehow after tonight or after January. And so we have agreed not to go to the site during the proceedings, and that includes obviously a referendum proceeding, which could take a little while. Holdover provisions, I think, are important because, again, this puts the town in a better position than you are today, meaning that if we end up going back to Fane Park because if the development agreement gets approved, but the zoning cases either don't get approved or they get referred at the ballot, and we're forced to come back to Fane Park, there are some holdover regulations that the town now has, even though it'll still be county land, holdover regulations for the operations at Fane Park that are the same regulations that we're agreeing to for government tank. So you sort of win at the end if we lose. You still get a little extra regulations. Again, pretty rare. Jurisdictionally, you couldn't do that, but for us agreeing to it in a contract. Lastly, I think the most important thing that we tried to thread the needle with was what happens to Fane Park, West Fane Park property if you get the government take approvals. And so we've said from day one, okay, well, we won't mine it. We promise, cross our heart. And I think the town said, let's do a little bit better than that. Let's kind of put your money where your mouth is and let's talk about a donation agreement. And so we worked with the town staff on parcels that we would call West Fane Park that have the rock on them, that would be the likely property to mine in the county. And we talked about which parcels we would then deed over to and gift over to the town if and when all of the approvals get done. Now that equates to about another 80 acres. And so that is shown here on the exhibit on the screen. It's exactly what's in the development agreement today. So Ivan and I have made sure that the map is very, very clear about what parcels come into the town. And again, these are parcels that today are in Yavapai County. So they would be gifted to you. You would then have the opportunity to annex them in and then, potentially add them to your park. And we are agreeing that the gift does come with some conditions. One of the conditions is that you would use it as a park. We wouldn't want something happen in the future where the town says, maybe we can put this out for an RFP and sell this for, development in the future. And so we wanted to make sure that it stays as a park, recreational, open space. The other thing that we talked about is since we're giving as a gift, we're not likely to get dime one on it. If in fact in the future the town decides to pass by ballot a new property tax, that those property taxes would be abated as it relates to Fane properties. And so there's a lot of questions and concerns out there of like, wow, that sounds like a big government giveaway. Is that, violation of the government clause, the gift clause? And first of all, if you were going through the process today and just giving us taxes in exchange for the land, that in itself wouldn't be a violation of the gift clause. Because the gift clause has to say, is it used for a government purpose? So the land that you would get would be used for government purposes, open space and park amenity. And then the value that you're giving, the tax, can't exceed the value of the land. And so those are the two rules that the Constitution requires. I've worked in many cities all over the state where the debate as to sort of, do we really want this user in the city? And if so, let's go ahead and rebate their sales taxes on day one. I know there's a lot of large projects down in the valley that have gotten done because the cities have given tax dollars on day one and sometimes bought the property through a G-plat and leased it back to them for $1 for a year. So there's a lot of reimbursements, tax abatements that happen on a daily basis when cities want something to happen and what's good for their cities. What we're saying here is, no, you're not giving us tax dollars today, and we hope you never give us a dime. But in the future, if you pass a new tax, that tax revenue now you can calculate, okay, the property was valued at this. So we know this tax revenue will have this minus this. And that's kind of opposed, that's differently than a city today that says, we're going to start tomorrow abating the taxes and giving you your sales tax rebates because it hits your budget tomorrow. It hits your budget next year. So if the town in the future decides to pass a property tax, you're doing it knowing that there's going to be a discount for a little bit of time overall to reimburse the developer. And so we think that was the most fair way to sort of bring the deal together. We agreed to a lot of extra regulations, a lot of extra costs to go to government tank. And in fact, it's millions of extra dollars to start the new site and operate the new site. So we think this potential tax where everyone has eyes wide open as to what that looks like in the future makes the most sense and probably carries the least amount of tax burden. This is also another map that's in your DA, and I think it's important to show, which is, this is A2. So if you look at A2, it's a little different than, well, let me pop here, a little bit different than A3. And so A2 includes property kind of on the north side, north of Rose Creek and north of sort of that right-of-way that cuts through the northern parts of the property. There is no hard rock in that area. That's not an area that was anticipated to be mined. That piece, even though it's included on this map, won't be deeded, it's about, I think, 20 acres, won't be deeded to the city or gifted to the city. So the Fanes will be able to retain that for some non-mining operations. But what the development agreement also says is, however, that can never be a mine. That can never be mined. So we have extra restrictions on more land that's in Yavapai outside your boundaries that we're agreeing to restrict ourselves for. Again, this talks about the access points. So today, this is what it would look like. We would either cut through the southern part of the park to get to the existing evac pit and the processing pit that was denied previously. And if not, we would have to go, up onto the main roads on 69 and down Glassford Hill with trucks. Government Tank has a road 4.5 miles built by the developer on mostly Fane land, crosses probably 1% of the road goes over your public right-of-way, and we've agreed to design that road and improve that road so there aren't any impacts. There's a little question tonight about a flyer that's been circulated out there and whether that flyer sort of has real information on it. And we've read it. We received it recently. And what we tried to do over the course of 3 months in neighborhood meetings is provide the truth. Get as many questions on the table, get as many answers on the table. The Fanes website has had for months and actually years a drone video that shows exactly where this site is related to the surrounding properties. They spent a lot of time and energy to fly this drone video and post it, and it's been out there for the public to see. We've had a Q&A, 10-page Q&A that's been on the website for 2 months now that has listed almost every single question and every answer to everything that we did through the neighborhood meeting. So it wasn't just checking the box with the neighborhood meetings and moving on. We used the software, we captured all of those questions, and we put all of those questions in Q&A online, and those have been online for months now. So everyone, we're trying to be as transparent as possible. This new flyer that came out recently talks about that this will cause a loss of death or, loss of life due to silica dust. It'll cause offensive impacts outside the boundaries of the 40 acres. It'll cause erosion of property values and loss of views and peace and tranquility. It'll cause long-term road maintenance and loss of tax revenues. It talks about the quantity and quality of water being impacted. It talks about increased traffic and impacts on schools and damage to existing wells. Well, I want to set the record straight. There have been no deaths at the existing site. There have been no silica lung complications from the workers who were there all day, every day, inhaling this stuff. There may be mines somewhere in the country where this is a problem, and it's not here today. There's been 0 days of closure due to accidents or deaths or violations of current laws and regulations. We have an amazing operator. AP&S has been around since the 70s. They are a family-owned company. They have 100 employees that live in this area. They're your neighbors, and their families are depending on this operation continuing to exist. They are a 5th-generation family operator. So this isn't just a corporation that has no responsibility. They're your neighbors. So they are going to be good neighbors, and they have been good neighbors next to Stone Ridge for many, many years. So some of these concerns really bug me because we were out there for months giving facts. And so we see this last-minute flyer that shows up and makes claims about property values. Well, in Stone Ridge, the property values have darn near doubled in the last 10 or 15 years, darn near doubled. There are no loss of views. This mine or the government tank site will be in a valley, down in a valley. If you've driven by the West Fane Park, you'll see rock cropping sticking out. They're going to start there, and they're going to raise that down. And so that will be seen all day, every day. So talk about a loss of views of folks in the park versus folks who are 2,000 feet away and is stuck down in a gully. So the comparison, to me, is a no-brainer. But there's a lot of information that's put out there. The existing water, there's a lot of concerns about it's going to have an impact on the quality and the quantity of water. We explained to you that in the development agreement, we can't drill a new well. We are exporting water out to the site. So we're bringing water out to the site. There is no impact on the quality or quantity of the existing water. There's no impact on traffic. I showed you the map where if you go to Fane Park, there will be increased traffic, absolutely. If you go to Government Tank, we cross a public road once, and that's it. So some of these claims are they're not founded. They're claims about mines in general. But if you look and apply those specifically in this case, I think that we have done a great job of trying to mitigate every single concern or answer the questions if there is a concern. So in summary, you're here today to kind of evaluate this issue. And I would tell you that the entire process, my client has potentially and always said, we want to be a good neighbor. This deal is probably not the best financial deal for us. We're going to spend millions more developing the new site. And there is no third site. I think I mentioned earlier at one of the last meetings is to find the new site, they had a couple parameters. It's got to have that hard rock. It's got to be in close proximity. So if hauling cost is extremely prohibited in terms of trying to be competitive in the marketplace. So if you say, well, why don't you go outside the town, like a lot of the letters say? We don't want it in the town limits at all. Go away 10, 15 miles away. Fane's got land everywhere. Go way out there. Well, it's got to come back to East Fane Park and be processed. Just like the rock comes from Chino Valley right now and gets processed. It's cost AP&S over the last couple of years millions of extra dollars just in hauling cost. And that's a company with employees and vested interest here in your valley. And so I would tell you that the comparison between the two sites, in my mind, couldn't be any more black and white. Our client has agreed to almost every condition in the development agreement and in the zoning to make sure that this is the most compatible site. I showed you the buffers. You know, if you just take buffers, and buffers means impacts. If you just take the buffers, Government Tank is 600 to 1,200 feet away from homes. 6,000 feet away from existing homes in PV, and as we saw, about 2,400 from homes in Dewey. West Fane Park is 600 and 1,200. So you have to know that the impact's going to be more. And as I told you, the rock sticking out versus in a valley. Traffic, as I mentioned, when you're talking about an improvement, and I think you've heard that a lot, the general plan amendment has to be an improvement. Well, if you think about the comparison of this site versus that site in terms of the buffering impacts to surrounding owners and the traffic, we hear about that on every single zoning case. We don't want more traffic. We don't want more traffic. Well, you certainly don't want more big trucks beating up your public roads. So I think from a comparison, the improvement question in your general plan is this a better site? Is Government Tank a better land use than West Fane Park? The zoning case as well. The zoning case, you're asked to look at the mitigation. Has the client, the applicant, mitigated any possible concerns? Have they addressed some of the issues? That's the development agreement. The development agreement has pages of extra regulations beyond the zoning case as well. So don't need to go into it, but you have the packet. You have a 400-page packet. There are petition signatures and letters of support. Almost 500 folks in there have written multiple page letters, signed petitions in support. So it has community support, less traffic, less impact on adjacent neighbors. And, I'll end by saying this is not a great deal for my client. This is not something they're going to walk away going, yes, this is the best deal for our company. But it's the right deal for the town of Prescott Valley citizens. And so with that, Mayor and council members, be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Council, any questions or comments? And this is we're addressing 10E right now with this. Councilwoman?
Asphalt and paving supply and the Fanes would rather use the Fane Park sites, wouldn't they?
Mayor, Councilman Greer, there's a question about which one is easier and more cost effective, and I think the answer is undoubtedly the West Fane Park site is more cost effective and easier to start up. Their preference is to be a good neighbor. We wouldn't be here if they didn't prefer Government Tank.
I went out to the site, the Government Tank, on Friday. It can't be seen by any of the residential areas. There is no view. Plus the fact that existing property around it is not conducive for building anything. It's all very steep, high hills and very deep valleys and a lot of rocks. It's not a place that you're going to have residential homes or industrial sites. Thank you.
Councilman Freund, can you hear us still?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, I have a statement, several paragraphs I'd like to state to everyone. It ties into all three of these. So I don't know at what point it would be best.
I would suggest you just do it now. Don't break it up. You just hit it all at once.
Okay, thank you, sir. I want to start by saying I'm strongly against mining near Fane Park. That's unequivocal. This project has regrettably been very divisive, pitting residents living near Fane Park against residents in the vicinity of the proposed tank quarry. Some of these people have spoken at Call to Public and actually urged this town council to effectively deny the First Amendment rights of persons with opinions differing from theirs, so that those opposed can't tell their side of the story. In fact, a new P&Z commissioner put on a roadshow held at several HOA communities and the library, lobbying in a one-sided manner in favor of the applicant in conjunction with representatives from quarry operator AP&S. A straw man argument was developed which falsely claimed that the opposition was claiming such things as folks dying from silicosis locally in an attempt to discredit the opposition. It was claimed everything that the proponents of the quarry said was fact. Yet, for example, it was also claimed that all of the water that will be used will be recycled. I'm still waiting for an explanation of how the millions of gallons of precious water to be sprayed over many years to control dust on 4.5 miles of dirt road will be recycled. Let me state some facts that were conveniently left out. The town of Dewey-Humboldt passed a resolution opposing the tank quarry. That's a fact. They know firsthand what mines can do to residents. There is no shortage of rocks or aggregate in Yavapai County. In fact, Arizona is one of the rockiest states in America. Buildings and roads will still be built with or without the tank quarry. The idea that rock can only be harvested in two places is another falsehood. The fact is that the park is being held hostage to ensure that the council approves the tank quarry. If it doesn't, the park and residents around it will suffer the consequences. Application papers have already been filed with the state mining inspector to back up these threats against us. Clause 37B in the development agreement creates a lifetime tax exemption. This could put future taxpayers on the hook for refunding taxes, which may in fact turn out to be illegal. Additionally, the applicant has a bailout clause for up to 1 year, whereas the town does not. To rezone and amend a voter-approved general plan, there should be a compelling reason that benefits and improves the quality of life of the townspeople. I don't see that in this project. There are other concerns. The processing site by the creek is scheduled to shut down years before the tank quarry. Where will the rock be crushed then? Truly good corporate citizens would find a way to mine rock without destroying a park named after them or mining within town limits. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman, did you have anything?
I was just curious, as far as Exhibit A3, where it states that just shy of 80 acres will be gifted to the town, and then the remainder that is not part of that agreement. What is the plan for that property?
Yeah, and Mayor, Councilwoman Keel, this is A3 in front of you. Everything that's hatched is going to be gifted to the town. As I had indicated, that there is acreage that's north of that deeded area. It's kind of adjacent to, really the business park that's there today. It's kind of hard to see here. Maybe we have better aerial, but so they can never do mining on it per this agreement. So there won't be mining. We don't have a plan today as to exactly what will go there. There is a business park just to the north of it. So if I had to speculate, I would say there's probably more business park expansion would go there. But again, we don't have an application. We don't have a plan. But again, it was excluded because it's not hard rock. It's not an area that was anticipated to be mined. And even if we were trying to pull a fast one and say, but we might mine it later, Ivan was very careful in making sure that there's, language in it that says that we can't.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. So Lally, just had a few questions for you. Can you expand on why mining aggregate on the parcels at West Fane Park site and why that can happen, and why also it would be hard, if not impossible, to stop mining at these parcels?
Mayor and Vice Mayor, so the question is, explain a little bit about the vested right that's there today and sort of the difficulty for a town to stop that. So it is in Yavapai County today. It's always been anticipated and identified on their maps as an expansion. We know that's where the hard rock is. It's very close to where the existing hard rock is on the other side of Fane. They've been studying that and readying the property for years, working through with the state on a reclamation plan in order to ready it for approval. And that's all they need is in the county. All you need is to go to the state and get state licensing. So you don't need to come to the town, and get any kind of extra zoning. Mining, rock harvesting is allowed by right in the county on these pieces of property. So you asked sort of how difficult is it to stop it? They have a vested legal right that they've had for many years. They have legal access onto Stone Ridge. They actually gave the right of way many years ago for that. So they have legal access onto that road. The agreement here has precautions and it has regulations. If we were to go back here and the agreement gets approved, you do have some regulatory oversight. And so that is If the development agreement wasn't in front of you, or if that component wasn't in there, it would be very hard for the town to have any sort of oversight. We would have to just follow the county and the state requirements, and that's it.
With regard to being in the county, we covered on your first slide a lot of the deal points you've made with the town. Would those be applicable if it stayed in the county and we voted no or did nothing this evening?
So the deal points that relate to the operation of Government Tank, if we ended up going, let's say I guess the first threshold, but if the development agreement does get approved, then a lot of those deal points do now apply to county land for future operation on the West Fane Park. If the zoning case and general plan get approved, those same regulations would apply to Government Tank site. And then this would be gifted to the town and it would become hopefully a future park. And so the deal points that we've negotiated, the town's protected in both situations. We go to Government Tank, you have the regulations and the rules. We come back per the agreement. If the agreement gets approved tonight, per the agreement, then you have extra regulations.
Would you say there are more regulations or points that the town has required as opposed to the existing site, the West Fane Park parcels?
Mr. Mayor and Vice Mayor, absolutely. I mean, the lights, the hours of operation, the limited blasting, all of those are over and above what it would be the normal regulations that exist in the county.
Just a few more questions for you. With regard to blasting, would this possibly occur on the West Fane Park parcels if, again, nothing happens, vote no, that type of thing? Is that a possibility? Because from what I understand, either we vote no or take no action, Asphalt Paving and Supply is ready to start mining on the west side of Stone Ridge Drive in the first quarter of next year.
Mr. Mayor and Vice Mayor, the question is whether blasting will occur. It can occur in either scenario, whether all of this falls apart and we go back there without any regulation, we can blast. It can happen if this development agreement gets approved and we end up having to go back there because the GPA. Blasting would be allowed in any situation on that site. They have blasted on the East Fane Park site one time over the last 20 years. And I think I've learned a heck of a lot about blasting. They drill deep, they put the explosives deep, they set them off and it just kind of shakes the dirt. It's meant to break up the rock that's deep. And so it's not meant to have a huge explosion and rock flying everywhere. And I think we even had a speaker here tonight who worked in that industry who kind of testified to that. And so there has been blasting, and there's actually been blasting in the area related to home building. We heard a testimony earlier this week about that as well. And so I asked our client, was that you last year? And they're like, no, that was a home builder. So it happens in the area. It absolutely can happen on this parcel.
One of the concerns I've heard about the Government Tank site is that some people are concerned it's going to be a forever mine. With regard to the West Fane Park parcels, how many years of aggregate are estimated to be there?
Mr. Mayor and Vice Mayor, it's almost hard to tell because they haven't scraped away the dirt to see what's there. So West Fane Park, the land that we think is ready for development is 80 acres, and the rock is sticking right out of the ground. They know that there's at least 50, maybe 70 years worth of product sitting there, ready to go. It's on 80 acres. It's twice the size of Government Tank. Government Tank, we hope it's 20 to 30 to 40 years. But I don't think that they have the same confidence because it's down in a gully. It's down in the valley. It's not a huge rock mountain that's sticking out. So I think their professional opinion is that there's probably 50 to 70 and 20 to 30.
Councilman, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. I went out on the mine inspector's office site and I saw that there has been an application and there will be a public hearing on December 18th for Fane Park. And I'm confused, though, because it says the property total is approximately 126 acres, but the proposed disturbance area will include an approximate total of 44 acres. So is it that 44 acres that could last 30 years, or? Well, actually, and then I read on, and it says that that's expected to continue through 2035. So it sounds like that's 10 years. And then is there going to be more applications, or?
Mr. Mayor and Councilwoman Keel, I haven't read what you've read. I don't handle AP&S's state applications. They're here tonight if they want to come up and talk to it, but I know that they have been working on a process for both sites. And so I'm not familiar with the application that you're referring to. I certainly can try to dig into it, but I do know of the 80 acres that they've told us that, this covers the prime locations of where the Hard Rock is. So when you reference 40, I'm guessing the 40 is within the 80 acres that we're willing to give to the town.
Anything else? Councilman Freund, did you have anything else?
No, sir.
Councilwoman Greer.
I understand if you started at the Fane location, the Fane Park location on the west side, you would have to cut a hole through the median on Stone Ridge Drive so that the trucks could go across Stone Ridge and go down, right, to 69.
Mr. Mayor and Councilwoman Greer, I don't know potentially how exact details of how they would have to access the road, what would they have to cut, what would they be
That's my
required to
understanding, is
improve?
that correct? They would have to cut through, so there would be trucks crossing Stone Ridge
For sure, for
and
sure.
going down to 69. I would see that as being a big problem for people living in Stone Ridge. You'd need a stop sign or a light. Be quite a few trucks crossing, right?
Mr. Mayor and Councilwoman Greer, as you can see up there, I mean, there's obvious public roads that are going right through that site. They're going to use those public roads. They're built there today. We can't go through the park. So yes, we'll go right on Stone Ridge Boulevard up to 69, across 69 and down Glassford Hill.
Well, and I would think the original application, which requested crossing Fane Park, maybe that would have to be reconsidered to stay off of Stone Ridge.
Mr. Mayor and Councilwoman, I think that would be a great idea.
I think at the end of the day, we talked about it last week. No one wants a gravel pit anywhere. This is an opportunity to mitigate issues with neighboring towns and communities and residents who would definitely be affected in the town of Prescott Valley. And the town of Prescott Valley gets what is probably one of the number one things in our surveys that residents want, which is more open space trails. Gives us an opportunity to acquire 80 acres for open space. And with that being said, though, if 10G and 10F don't pass, it is what it is. So with that being said, I'll entertain a motion to approve or disapprove.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign resolution number 2025-2440, adopting a development agreement with Fane Family and Asphalt Paving and Supply regarding the government tank rock harvest site by electronic vote.
Second.
Councilmember Keel?
I just wanted to explain my vote before I do. We're being asked to approve a development agreement with the Fane family gifting nearly 80 acres to the town for use as a park. However, under the terms described, if any such tax were ever imposed on Fane land, the town would essentially be required to repay Fane family for the park at a future unknown value based on the highest and best use previously reported to the IRS. While I've heard that our residents, many don't feel that our residents would ever approve a property tax in our lifetime, We're already going to the ballot next year to seek dedicated income stream for a recreational facility. Additionally, just last year, legislators were discussing cuts to our TPT food sales tax. These changes have a significant impact on our general fund, and I'm going to be voting no because of that tax clause.
Councilmember Freund.
I would agree with what Councilwoman Keel said, and I'd like to add, I just can't agree with this open-ended agreement with a bailout clause for one side of one party, and the tax implications. I just can't approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, that passes 5-2.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item, 10F, resolution number 2025-2439, adopting major general plan amendment, GPA 25-001 of Government Tank Rock Harvest Site from Village PAD A1 to Industrial. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. I also would like to just thank the community for all the input on this project throughout this whole entire process, and also staff who's helped a ton during this process. The requested for you is a major general plan amendment and a zone map change for about 40 acres. I think it's 38.95. Through the major general plan, there we go, process, staff noticed numerous state and local agencies the current general plan designation, as you said, is Village Pad A-1, and the request is to amend the general plan to designate this area as industrial. I guess I should have started this with, I'm just going to wrap the ZMC in this as well, just as one presentation, Mayor. The current zoning on the parcel is RL70, which is single family limited with a 70,000 square foot minimum lot size. The zone map change request is to rezone the parcel to IG, industrial general, with a conditional use permit as part of the conditions of this rezone. As you see there, Town Code Section 13-13-110G states, any use allowed by conditional use permit or special use permit may be also be allowed when it is expressly authorized as a condition of rezoning and included in the approved preliminary development plan. So that was a condition that P&Z did out on Monday to this rezone. And this is just a conceptual site plan that was provided by the applicant, and they'll do phased harvesting and, as Mr. Lawley said, just crossing Old Black Canyon one time. And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. And is that your presentation also for 10G?
Yes.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, so I am opening it up right now for item 10F. And by a show of hands, who wishes to speak?
Mayor, if you would
you
like.
have a list?
We do have a list.
Excellent.
There's 8 people registered. I can start calling out the names. William Hathaway, Vic Paulson, Patricia Betzold, and Randy Bosberg.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome, sir.
My name is Max Hathaway. My name is Max Hathaway. I reside in Prescott Valley at 10711 East High Point Drive. Where are you guys going to be able to find a neutral voice to help inform your deliberations with respect to the matter in front of you now? And by neutral voice, I mean a voice that is not clouded with some form of self-interest. It's not going to be my voice, I can tell you that. But I think history can help give you a direction to a voice that can be both clear and consequential and not self-interested. In March of 2013, the voters of Prescott Valley ratified General Plan 2025 by nearly 56% of the vote. That general plan contained a land use element and policy that referenced the current mining operations and the parcels at issue here as sources of aggregate for future use. In February of 2021, the town granted the Fanes a right-of-way to facilitate the expansion to those parcels of Fane Park, west of Fane Park. This grant by the town was consistent with the land use element and policy in General Plan 2025. There was no public outcry over this. In November of 2022, nearly 50% of the voters ratified General Plan 2035. It contained the very same land use element and policy. Over 11,000 persons voted for General Plan 2035. So what is the event that happened that brings us here today? In February of 2022, the Faines' request to renew the right-of-way that had been granted to them was denied. That denial was contrary to the land use element in policy that was in General Plan 2025. There had been no change in conditions or the development needs, goals, or values in Prescott Valley to warrant the denial of that right-of-way. The town council adopted General Plan 2035 3 months after the denial of the right-of-way without amending the land use element or policy concerning aggregate resources. I urge you to listen to the clear and consistent voice of the electorate over the past 2 decades. Do not approve the general plan amendment for the government tank site. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
No guarantees.
Vic Paulson.
Welcome, sir. Sir, I don't think, so hang on a second. Sir, I don't believe the microphone is on, thanks to one individual,
It looks
Mr.
like it
Hathaway.
is.
Sir, you're good to go.
My name is Vic Paulson. I live at 1734 Thimble Drive in Prescott Valley. Considering the General Plan 2035 is no longer consistent with Arizona revised statutes. Chapter 9, Section 461.05, C1G states in part, the general plan shall include a land use element including sources of aggregates, consideration of suitable geologic resources and policies to preserve currently identified aggregates sufficient for future development, and policies to avoid incompatible land uses. While the general plan, when it was passed in 2022, was consistent, since that time, the government tank site has been identified as a viable source of aggregates and must be included within the general plan by state statute. A general plan amendment from Village Pad A1 to include areas of industrial land use and a zoning map change from R1L-70 to IG is not only an improvement, but it is also required to comply with state law. Times have changed. The general plan is no longer consistent with state statutes. And the general plan needs to be amended to correct that. Doing that for the government tank site will correct that deficiency. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Betchold.
Oops. Gosh. That shouldn't count because he's way taller than any other human in the room. Okay, so in 2022, Mayor Palguda said it well when he stated that, quote, Owning large amounts of land does not automatically qualify anyone the right to carelessly attempt to develop it in the name of the mighty dollar. And it is the mighty dollar that is driving this whole proposal. The town was asked the Fanes to look at another site, and they didn't stipulate it should be outside town boundaries. When the Fanes attempted to rezone the 40 acres to M1 industrial in 2023, the town didn't even have a designation, and they still don't today, that even permits a mine, because it has uses that create offensive noise, vibration, smoke, dust, odor, glare beyond its boundaries, and that designation also doesn't allow the pollution of air, surface waters, groundwater, or latent radiation explosion or danger. All the same, it was private citizens that were forced to collect signatures to change the amendment from a minor to major, because there is not a designated land use for mining within the Prescott Valley General Plan or the town. And that covers both the GT site and the adjacent 1,700 acres owned by the Fanes, as per the Yavapai County GIS mapping. Anybody can see that. It connects the land between the GT tank and the existing excavation pit. That's why it's 4.5 acres. Basically, this mining is not compatible with the adjacent existing residential uses. Those uses are there first. When Vic mentions the change in state law, that is to prevent having a mine and then putting houses next door, not the other way around. Now, in 2025, the town wants to make a deal. There's no mention anymore of quality of life or the problems with the strategic plan as stated by the town manager in 2022. Instead, their overriding concern in writing is that they don't want mining, they don't want to see mining from the park, and they don't want it next to the Stone Ridge entrance, okay? So basically, the reason people don't find any, and I quote, any dead bunnies in their yard or sick from living next to the mine is that the existing mine is about 250 feet below Stone Ridge. So when the wind blows through that, the dust and noise is trapped down there, and that's why they haven't heard a lot of things. There's also a difference between calving off stone on the walls of a canyon than blowing a gigantic hole in a shallow basin to get rock.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next up, we have Randy Bosberg, Tim Fugit, Chuck Gorman, David Parker, and Ellen Hoytis.
Welcome, sir.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members, my name's Randy Bosberg. I'm a longtime resident of Prescott Valley. I'm speaking in strong opposition of amending the General Plan 2035 for the government tank borrow pit. The General Plan designates this area as a village pad A1 within Growth Tier 1 and must be preferred area for future growth because of its proximity to water, sewer, and other essential services. That designation wasn't accidental. It reflects a long-term community vision for safe, connected neighborhoods, diverse housing opportunities, recreation, and overall quality of life. A general plan major amendment is only appropriate when it represents a clear improvement to the community, when it strengthens our long-term vision, enhances public welfare, or corrects a genuine planning deficiency. This proposal does none of those things. It does not improve the community. It compromises it. Changing this land from Tier 1 residential and mixed-use potential to industrial, specifically for sand and gravel operations, directly undermines the goals of the plan that the plan was built on. Industrial uses will still bring heavy truck traffic, dust, noise, and safety risks out on Stone Ridge, out on Glassford Hill. If we allow this shift here, we set a precedent that weakens the integrity of the general plan itself. Once the public sees that core land use policies can be bent for short-term industrial interests, trust in the planning process erodes. And when trust erodes, it damages the very foundation of community-driven planning. The general plan is not a suggestion. It is our community's roadmap created with extensive input from residents, businesses, and local leaders. It was designed to balance growth with livability and to guide decisions that protect the long-term interests of Prescott Valley. Amending it to accommodate an industrial gravel pit right in the center of a Tier 1 growth area disregards that collective vision and exposes surrounding neighborhoods long-term harm. This amendment fails in the most basic requirement. It must improve the community. It does not. It weakens it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Tim?
Welcome, sir.
We're going to divert a little bit here. My name's Tim Fugit. I live in Prescott Valley. I wish to debunk the fear of silicosis from the scare tactics used by the opponents to government tank. I'm going to reference a very large study by Epic Research entitled No Surge in Silicosis. This longitudinal study was conducted between January 1st, 2017, July 31st to July 31st of 2023. They used two teams that worked independently, each composed of clinicians and research scientists. The data was corroborated by the two-team approach. During that time, the teams evaluated 129 million patients, of whom only 3,014 were newly diagnosed cases of silicosis. The study used patient records, and diagnosis was confirmed by history plus chest X-ray and CT scans. The rate of silicosis per year in the United States has declined from 8 cases per million patients in 2017 to 6 cases per million patients in 2023. That is a prevalence in the United States of 0.0006%, or 6 ten-thousandths of a percent. A table was included in the study which reflects the number of diagnosed cases by state during that time. The states with the highest prevalence were West Virginia, New Mexico, and Nevada. Arizona and Florida tied with a rank of number 17 from best to worst. That is, 16 states had fewer cases than we, and 32 states had more. Nationally, the cases have shifted toward engineered stone industry, not gravel operations. As reported by NPR concerning countertop fabrication in California, many cases have been young Hispanic males, and general speaking, they have about 6.5 times the rate of females. Silicosis is first and foremost an occupational disease. In conclusion, the rate of confirmed cases of silicosis per year as of 2023, as I stated, is 6 per million patients in the United States. It has declined significantly due to OSHA starting the surveillance program in 1970. Modern technology using baghouses and conveyor belts with drop-down transfer points of wet rock result in no dust plumes. And these mitigation procedures are in place by APNS. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Chuck Gorman?
Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. I want to speak briefly tonight about documents. We have a general plan in this town and other important documents that are represent what we feel is going to happen in our community and what we're going to be doing moving forward. A lot's been said about the general plan recently, portraying it as a rigid permanent barrier, something that can't and shouldn't be touched. But that's not what a general plan is. In fact, that's not really what any plan is. It's not how these documents were designed. And a general plan is a vision document. It lays out how we think the town might grow, but it also acknowledges something fundamental, and that is that humans cannot see into the future. None of us can predict perfectly or even closely what Prescott Valley is going to look like in 5 years or even 10 or 15 years, because this document, the general plan, does influence future general plans. So that's why these plans and related documents are explicitly written to be changed, not casually, but deliberately. Inside the general plan itself are procedures of how to amend it and how to change it. It says, if you want to change this document, here are the steps you need to follow. And in the case of everything we've seen tonight, those steps have been followed. These kinds of instructions are a feature of this style of document. These plans were built to adapt, to welcome new information, new opportunities, new challenges, and new ideas. They are living documents because communities are living communities. This flexibility is not unique to Prescott Valley, and it reflects a very American principle. Our country has always believed the ability of the people through their elected representatives, so you all here, to revise their own future. Our Constitution itself was written with mechanisms for amendment. Our local plans follow that same spirit. So when we talk about the general plan and zoning, let's talk about the documents honestly. They guide us, but they don't handcuff us. They express our values, they provide placeholders, and they give us the tools to refine those values when circumstances change. The council faces some difficult decisions tonight, namely, should these things be changed, and are the changes in the best interests of our communities and citizens? I'm quite sure the answer is yes for Prescott Valley and citizens. That's the conversation we should be having, openly, respectfully, fact-based, and grounded on the understanding that the general plan was created not to freeze Prescott Valley in place, but to help us grow wisely together. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
David Parker.
Welcome, sir.
Yes, I guess I didn't understand that I had another time to speak, so I spoke earlier. But anyway, I think the reason that they're trying to do the development over there in the government tank area is probably because that's where the product is. I mean, they're not going out to Coyote Springs, or they're not going out to Fane Road and trying to mine out there because there's no product out there. So why doesn't it make sense? And maybe just one last thing, maybe if there is a need for blasting, maybe they could limit it to 3 different scenarios. One would be in the July 4th when they set off the fireworks. The second could be when the Arizona Diamondbacks win the World Series. And the last could be when the Arizona Cardinals win the Super Bowl. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Helen Hoyres.
Welcome, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. The statement I'm about to read is from Diane Gomez at Prescott Country Club. She was unable to attend the meeting tonight. I would like to see the town of Prescott Valley advocate for no mines near anyone's homes whenever you are able. And in this instance of the government tank quarry, you are able to. I think the time has come for no mines inside of town limits. I am very against ignoring the over 2,000 Prescott Valley residents who signed a minor to major amendment initiative on the government tank quarry. As a major amendment, this quarry, with occasional dynamite blasting, has to be proven to be an improvement to the Prescott Valley General Plan, a plan over 11,000 Prescott Valley residents approved. These 11,000 residents count on their town to fairly represent their interests. How can anyone interpret a blasting quarry as an improvement to a village pad A1? Are you really going to tell the residents of this valley that if the landowner offers land in trade, then you will ignore the outcry of the residents near the impacted area and deem something like the government tank quarry an improvement to the people's general plan? An attitude of we are going to disrespect the general plan and the residents who voted for it, in this case of the government tank quarry, tells everyone that you work for the few and not the many. It's as if you are saying, we are going to approve it whether you like it or not. And this same type of decision can be made in the future on open land near any residence, as long as the landowner offers a quid pro quo. Do you think the voters would approve this if it got to the ballot? If your answer is no, but you vote yes, then you don't work for them. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Clerk?
I have no one else on my list, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else out there that wishes to comment on this? This is still a public hearing. There's just one person, sir.
Thank you, and I'll be brief. Joe Colosimo, Prescott Valley. Just want to clear up something in regards to the councilman in my speaking at the Historical Society. I was invited by the Historical Society to speak, and at that time, I was just newly appointed a commissioner. And so what I did is I picked up the phone and I called our town manager, and I asked if I was allowed to do that because of my new position. He made it clear that as long as I identified myself as a citizen, that I could do exactly that. That is exactly what that council member did when he came to the P&Z meeting, my very first meeting, after I recused myself and still asked for my resignation. So I just wanted to clear that up. The second thing I want to bring up is this. Earlier I said we are part of a representative republic. You guys are our representative. You are our voice. If we don't like what you're doing, we can unelect you and we can put someone else in. That's what we're allowed to do. That's what a representative republic is all about. I would like a guarantee that after this is done, when you guys have made a decision, whether you oppose or you are for this amendment, that there would be no referendums to go afterwards and put this town through that again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else out there? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Necessarily something for him, but for Chris, right? On number 4, number 11, and number 13 of your slide, I would like to ask the question why you left Victorian Estates out.
Well, hang on a second. We'll just finish letting you speak, sir, and then I'll close the public discussion and we'll hear some answers. How's that? Anyone else out there? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Mr. Lawley, I'll welcome you back to the microphone to answer or comment on any of the comments made by the public.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. Real quick, I'll address that quick question. Obviously, Victorian Estates is super important. The exhibits that we were showing were sort of the closest nearby residents. We weren't excluding any residents to say that they are meaningless or don't have the same impact. What I was trying to show you on those exhibits that were referenced tonight is the nearest residents, and those happen to be, in this particular case, Stone Ridge. And so no exclusion, no disrespect was meant to Victorian Estates at all. But let me touch base. We're on the general plan amendment. You heard a lot tonight about, I think, the general plan and the requirement for it to be an improvement. And I think that's extremely important because the general plan, as it was stated and quoted, it is a living document. It's a goal-oriented document. It's a guidepost. It's not hard zoning that this parcel here has to be this. It's kind of a generic sort of, this is what we hope to be in the future. And there's a lot of reference to, well, Pad A1 is a tier 1 growth area. Well, in terms of growth areas, you have to look at your general plan and really look at where's the infrastructure. If we're going to put homes in a tier 1 growth area in Pad A1, you got to have roads out there. You got to have sewer out there. You got to have water out there. You have to have electricity out there. And so when developers look at where to grow in your community, they look at where it makes the most sense and where the infrastructure is. Yes, Pad A1 is residential today. It's the same residential that it was given by statehood. It's the holding zoning. And your general plan reflects the holding zoning, which is large lot residential, as does lots of areas that don't have infrastructure. When you finally get infrastructure out to certain areas, it'll start looking a little different. Your general plan will start looking less white and it'll look yellow and dark yellow and brown because you'll have infrastructure. And that's where tier one growth should go first, is where the infrastructure is. And that's where the development is cost effective, and that's where it's going to go. So the idea that this is voter approved residential only, it's not. It is a holding zoning for future growth, and it is a future growth area. So that doesn't always mean that a general plan amendment to allow aggregate development is incorrect or inappropriate. The big question is really improvement. Is this an improvement? Is the application that's in front of you tonight, that includes the development agreement that you've approved, the land use change within the general plan, is it an improvement for the citizens of Prescott Valley? What I try to do with some graphics and some comparisons to show you, it could go here, but let's put it over here. That is an improvement. The general plan asks you to weigh that question, whether it's an improvement. So other comments were made tonight, but I think that's the heart of what you need to decide tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Freund, is there anything to add on item 10F?
Yes, sir, just briefly. If we look at whether or not this change to the general plan, this major plan amendment, is an improvement to the towns, for the townspeople, whether it's good for their health, their happiness, or their quality of life, I don't think it meets those requirements. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to focus on the phrase clear improvement to the community. I think one of the things that is troubling me is that a lot of people seem to be ignoring the fact that literally you can mine parcels on the west side and east side of Stonebridge Drive starting the first quarter of next year. The town asked the applicant to find another site. Unfortunately, it's in the town limits. I wish it wasn't. I wish it was in the county. We wouldn't be here. But it is. But I look at it this way. Government Tank is an improvement over the existing sites at West Fane Park. That is what I'm really looking at and why I'm supporting this, and I just wanted to be clear about it.
Councilwoman Keel.
And there is no appraisal. We know that the taxpayers are going to be on the line for the highest and best use of this property. So, what are we looking at, 30 million to pay back or 3 million if it were a park? I just can't support that.
Thank you, ma'am. At the end of the day, it is what it is, right? We have the easiest job. Someone said we have the hard job. We don't have a hard job. We get to weigh the pros and cons on what works for Prescott Valley and what's the best for all of Prescott Valley. If you vote a certain way, Fane Park goes away. Everything that we love about it, the people that don't even live around it, it affects them. We vote a different way. Maybe it goes to referendum and Fane Park gets destroyed. But at least I'm going to sleep good at night. I'm going to say I tried. I listened to a lot of residents. I went and knocked a lot of doors the past month or so in Victorian Estates, sir, asking them questions, in Stone Ridge, asking them questions, because they're close, right? This is something that's going to affect them. I understand totally our neighbors to the south, Dewey Humboldt, I get it. We looked at the number of homes that are affected, and the numbers are clear. The numbers don't lie. Math is math. And for Dewey Humboldt, unfortunately, I don't represent Dewey Humboldt. I represent the residents of not only Prescott Valley, but Victorian Estates and Stone Ridge. And with that being said, I'd also like to mention that I'm on this dais, I live closest to Government Tank, the closest person to Government Tank from this dais. And if I'm selfish, I say, hey, I don't want it anywhere near what I got. But I have to put my mayor hat on. My mayor hat says what's good for Prescott Valley. And keeping Fane Park, is what it's all about. So with that being said, seeing nothing else, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign resolution number 2025-2439, adopting major general plan amendment GPA 25-001, changing the designation of the government Tank Rock harvest site from Village Pad A1 to industrial by electronic vote.
A second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilmember Keel?
No.
Councilmember Freund?
No.
Thank you, Mayor. That passed 5-2.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, Mr. Norlock, I know you covered 10G, but that is also a public hearing, so we will open that up for public hearing right now.
Mayor, we do have 4 people registered for this public hearing. We have Isabel Saracides, Patricia Betzel, Randy Bosberg, and Chuck Gorman.
Thank you, ma'am. We just ask that we just don't repeat what maybe some other speakers have said this evening. Welcome, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Isabel Saracides, 16-year resident of Viewpoint. I want to start by asking a question. How many of you love getting a birthday present? We all do, right? There is something wonderful about a beautifully wrapped box sitting on the table just for us. Imagine opening the box and finding a really nice gift, exactly what you wanted. But then you look deeper in the box and you find an invoice with your name on it from your good neighbor, asking you to pay for the gift. Suddenly, it doesn't feel much like a gift, does it? It feels like a purchase you didn't know you were making. That is exactly where we are with this zoning. On the surface, it looks thoughtful, a gift of land to our town, but it's not. It has strings attached. First, there is the industrial zoning request. Zoning laws exist to protect the character and safety of our community. When we start compromising policy for land, we are headed down the wrong path. It suggests that our town standards are up for negotiation rather than based on what is best for our future. The real price for Fane Park land is the request for a tax repayment if an excise tax is adopted. If repayment is not made during our lifetime, the responsibility will be extended to our kids and grandkids. Taxpayers will be asked to pay back the highest appraisal value of the Fane Park land, including unmined aggregate. Excise tax is intended for a specific purpose, like a big Chino pipeline, not for repayment. So let's be clear. If we have to pay them back, this is not a gift. This is a sale. And because the appraisal has not been given, you don't even know how much the taxpayer is on the hook for. This is not being fiscally conservative, as some of you ran on. It's corporate welfare. Businesses should stand on their own 2 feet, not be backed by the public checkbook. You are asking taxpayers to subsidize their profit margins. Make no mistake, this is a land sale with a potential multi-million-dollar price tag. Decline this land sale, protect zoning, and protect the public purse. Oh, and if you're thinking the tax will never happen, think again. I urge you to vote against this proposal.
Thank you, ma'am.
Patricia Betzold?
Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. So first of all, I want to tell everybody that our vote, and I voted then because I was in PV, for the general plan in 2035, that was not a joke. It's not funny. People made decisions on where to purchase property based on the general plan because it's supposed to protect them. So make no mistake, this will be a forever mine. 50 years is forever for most of us in this room. The 4 lots that still remain between Victoria Estates, the 2 lots owned by the Fains, which is 54 acres, and the 40 acres of BLM land are right next door to Victoria Estates. And by state law, and you can look it up on the BLM website, they will lease that land for mining. And there is an access road that we saw right there on the screen that gives the Fains access to Stone Ridge Drive. And nothing in what we've talked about today protects Victorian Estates from that mining. The on-site drilling, detonation, crushing, and hauling of rock will now all take place on the 40 acres. Even today, we saw a change in that agreement that's going to manage this rezoned land. We saw that they have now added Saturday to their 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. schedule. Please look at your paperwork. The draft on September 26 does in fact include a 100,000-ton blasting event. You will notice that none of the paperwork now includes any limit on blasting, period. And all of the regulations controlling the operations all are predicated by the word may. May is not a reservation or making anything legal. Our worst fears are confirmed by 3.2, only putting off expansion into their other acreage for 15 years. Some of us may be gone, but the families and kids living around that area will have a mine in their backyard. And most of that is one 1,600 square foot parcel or acre parcel. And take a good look next time you go to Stone Ridge. You can't see any of the valley around that because of the geological, but that shallow basin where GT Mine lies in the rolling hills, the wind blows directly from the southeast to Stone Ridge 8 months out of the year. And our mayor even made that statement during a neighborhood meeting. There is nothing that's going to stop the noise and dust from getting to that side of Stone Ridge. And so maybe it's justice that that's happening. I don't know, but it just happens to be a fact. Think about it. Are we really going to sacrifice the quality of life of thousands of people to...
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Vosberg, you're up.
Randy Vosberg.
Who's on deck, ma'am?
And then we have Chuck Gorman, and that's it on my list.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome, sir.
Howdy back. Okay, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Again, my name is Randy Vosberg. I'm a longtime PB resident. Again, I'm following up what Isabel talked about, because this agreement, right out of the agreement, it says closing on such a conveyance shall be within 12 months after the last of the approvals is fully vested, non-appealable, and beyond all challenge periods, and after an appraisal is completed that evaluates all the property shown in Exhibit A3 at the highest and best use as required for reporting the original gift value on the IRS Form F-8283 for tax deduction purposes. In plain terms, this means the town will wait up to a year before even knowing the appraised value of the land. The appraisal is not for the town's benefit, it is for the Payne family to claim a tax deduction. So while the public is told this is a gift, the town cannot use the land immediately, and the donor receives a significant financial advantage. Even more concerning is the clause that says if the town adopts any new property or excise taxes after November 25th, we're already there, these taxes must be rebated back to the Payne family until the unknown value of the gifted land has been paid back in full. That means while residents and small businesses would pay their fair share, this developer would be shielded from future tax increases. The town would lose revenue that could otherwise support roads, parks, police, and community services. How can this be called a gift? If the town ends up paying for it, through lost tax revenue and restrictions on how the land can be used. The true gift strengthens the community. This agreement, as written, where'd I go? As this agreement, okay, we'll just put it this way. The true gift strengthens the community. This agreement is written, weakens it by tying the town's hands financially and legally. I urge you to reject this development agreement until land appraisals are completed upfront and until the tax rebate language is removed. Prescott Valley deserves transparency, fairness, and agreements that truly serve the public good. When is a gift, not a gift. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gorman?
No.
Look, I was just coming up to basically say, if I give you a Christmas gift, you give me another one, it doesn't delete the gift I gave you. It's still a gift. I urge you, and you understand the seriousness of the situation, to move the quarries to government tank. That is an improvement for the people of Prescott Valley, as has been said many times tonight, and I don't want to speak any longer since everything has already been said, but thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Clerk?
I have no one else on my list, Mayor.
Anyone else out in the audience wish to speak who did not sign up? Sir Hathaway, welcome, sir.
Thank you. Just a couple of thoughts. Once again, Max Hathaway, resident, Prescott Valley. I had given a lot of consideration to the pros and cons here. The reference to the drone flyover, that was an idea I worked out with Gilbert Davidson years ago in order to assuage concerns if they were assuageable. The idea, and I spoke with Ron and Brad about this, of building in a clause that would limit the expansion to a certain number of years. It started out 20, then it became 15. That was an idea I worked with Gilbert and Ivan on during early stages of this. It's not an easy decision for me. What causes me to oppose this is, in fact, the tax exemption. I don't believe Ron and Brad are trying to get anything out of this. I believe them when they say we don't want to get rebated. And part of that is they don't want to be taxed to begin with. And I understand that. There's nothing wrong with it. There's been most of the discussions about taxes have been about property taxes. And as the mayor noted at an earlier meeting, who wants to vote on taxing themselves? That ain't going to happen. Well, the primary tax I believe Ron and Brad are worried about is the commercial leasehold tax. That's a tax where most of the people voting for it are not going to have to suffer it. So it makes it easier to vote for it. So I think it is a real potential. At any rate, the town is going to have to, if it feels it needs that revenue at some point in time, factor in the rebates if it comes from that type of a leasehold. And then finally, Mr. Lally went to a considerable lengths to explain that once the development agreement is signed, there are protections for the parcels on west of Fane Park. Mr. Mayor, I'll correct you, it will not destroy Fane Park. Mr. Lally made that quite clear, and we're at the point now that soon, apparently, you're going to be signing the development agreement, and we have that protection now. So I would just kind of back off of that statement. And another thing that kind of gives me pause is that among everything we're seeing here tonight is not a resolution where the town commits itself to actually improving, maintaining, and expanding Fane Park with a reasonable plan, a 5-year plan, some sort of feasibility study. That's not there. And I fear it'll be a long time, if ever, before there is that kind of commitment. Thank you.
Ma'am, anyone else? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Mr. Lally, would you like to address anything?
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Just a couple things. A lot of the comments on this item, I think, had to do with the development agreement terms. This item, I think, in front of you is really the zoning case. But let me back up and say and correct one thing that has been said multiple times. And it is said multiple times that the agreements that we've agreed to in the development agreement are may. They may do that. I will tell you, if you read 3.2, you will see absolutely that Ivan has language in there that says you shall do this, you will do this, you won't do that. There is no fluff in this development agreement. The development agreement's approved, so I'm not going to get into it. But I want on the record that this town knows that Ivan and I negotiated a very fair agreement for you, and it's not consistent with what was said, where there's a lot of mays when it comes to the actual requirements. The zoning case. The zoning case, really, there's two questions you ask on a zoning case. First of all, is it consistent with the general plan? That's a statutory requirement in ARS, and you've passed the general plan. So the zoning case is consistent with the general plan. And then the second question, really, for a zoning case is, are there mitigations built into the approvals? And so you have a zoning case and a conditional use permit here that then is tied to the development agreement that has lots of mitigation and lots of controls and lots of regulation. And so I would argue to you that a lot of discussion was about the development agreement on this public hearing, but we're here about the zoning. The zoning is now and will be consistent with your general plan. The zoning does propose lots of mitigations and controls and regulations. So I think it meets the intent of the zoning code as put before you tonight. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Freund, anything to add? But this is for item 10G.
No, sir.
I'm sorry.
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Council, anything else?
Mr. Mayor and Council, if I could, Mr. Norlock mentioned something about the conditional use permit in his presentation. The draft ordinance that you have right now only has two conditions that are proposed. They're fairly general conditions. As I understand it, to get the conditional use permit done, that will need to be made a condition, but I'd like to have Mr. Norlock just confirm that for us before we have any motions made.
Yes, that's correct. As far as the new code does allow that under a rezone to add the conditional use permit as a condition in the rezone. P&Z did add that in their conditions when they sent this to you.
Thank you, sir. I will say, and maybe I should correct myself for Mr. Hathaway, if this does go to Fane Park, and going off of what Councilwoman Keel mentioned, having or recommending a road go through straight to the plant and not go on Stone Ridge Drive, I believe that would destroy Fane Park. That would destroy the serenity, the quietness, and having dump trucks with load going all the way through Fane Park. So I guess it really depends on what you think destroy is, I guess. But and then also, I think the word if has been thrown around quite a bit. If this happens, if this happens. And I think none of us have a crystal ball. And I'll end with, when I was a little kid, I would use if with my grandma a lot. Like, if we go do this, what will happen? If. And in a typical grandma way, she said, if a frog has wings, he wouldn't bump his bum every time he jumped. So I kind of understood at that point, we can't go off of ifs. We can only go off of what we know. And what I do know is things will change at Fane Park if we go a certain direction. That's all. With that being said, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to read ordinance number 2026-974, adopting zoning map change 25-008 by title only on two separate occasions and place the same on final passage with the conditions that were noted, especially the conditional use permit.
I will second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilmember Freund,
No.
Councilmember Schumacher.
That's, sorry.
Thank you. Mayor, that passes 5-2.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on, item 10.
Can I read the
You
ordinance?
probably should do that. That probably would work. Thank you.
Ordinance number 2026-974. An ordinance of the mayor and common council of the town of Prescott Valley, a municipal corporation of Arizona, amending the town zoning map by changing the zoning district classification of approximately 40 acres, 39.7, APN 402-14-004 in the southwest quarter of Section 31, Township 14, North Range 1 east of the Hill and Salt River Basin Meridian, Government Tank Rock Harvest Site from RL 70 Residential Single Family Limited Zoning to IG Industrial General Limited Zoning for purposes of a sand and gravel operation, and providing that this ordinance shall be effective 30 days after its passage and approval according to law. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, item 10H, Town Code 2-02-020, Vice Mayor appointment. Clerk, I don't need anything from you on this. I'll just take the point on it. Every year we vote for a vice mayor, and it's that time of year, so this would go for, once again, another year. I have no issues or complaints with Vice Mayor Zurcher. I haven't talked whether or not he wants to do it again, but if it was up to me, I'd like to just keep him where he is. Vice Mayor.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I just want to say thank you to you and town staff. I want to clear up one of the misconceptions about Vice Mayor. It requires a lot more communication with staff sometimes, and also especially the mayor, because if the mayor's out of town or he's not available to do something, at the last minute he could call and get me to represent him and the town. In particular, I want to say thank you to staff because they've made my first year as vice mayor very easy, because again, if God forbid something were to happen and I'd have to step into the mayor's shoes, you don't want to be prepared for no surprises. I was thinking about borrowing your phrase about if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, but I just say that you do prepare us for, it prepared me and for that instance, and so I appreciate it. So thank you.
Any other discussion on this matter? Councilman Freund, are you still there with us?
Yes.
Anything to add?
No, no, sir.
Seeing nothing else, I know we had these, clerk was so kind to give us these little ballots. I'm fine with doing a motion from the dais, not secret ballot.
That's fine.
I'll entertain a motion, please.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Councilmember Matt Zurcher to serve in the capacity of Vice Mayor in accordance with ARS 9-236 and Town Code 2-02-020 by electronic vote.
Have a second.
I'll second.
Councilmember Freund,
Abstain.
Councilmember Keel. Thank you. Mayor, that passes 6-1.
Thank you, ma'am. Anything else for the good of the order, folks? Seeing none, hey, thanks for sticking it out, folks. You guys have a great holiday season, and we'll see you next year.